Welcome to Doctor on Call with your host, Doc Griffin. The doctor will be with you momentarily. Our guest this evening is graphic artist and YouTube content creator, Mystic Ninja Designs. For your safety during the interview, please remain seated with arms, hands, and feet inside the vehicle at all times until the talk show comes to a complete stop. Horseplay will not be tolerated. Doc Griffin. Paging Doc Griffin. You're needed in the OR. Stat.
And thank you very much, Nurse Kadan. And I'm glad you were able to bring your residential dragon around. Hey, tonight on the show, we were supposed to have on guitarist Ryan Roxy from the Alice Cooper Band. Well, he lives in Sweden. So the 6-hour time gap kind of got him. So we're going to wait until he starts touring with Alice in the States. So we'll see him around June. But that does not mean in any way, shape, or form we don't have some entertainment for you this evening. This is a gentleman that I've had a chance to meet a few times. And, of course, to hang out on the Insomnia Ramble stream with. Very interesting gentleman, I would say. So I think it's time to jump into an interview. Let's talk with the Pants Ninja from Mystic Ninja Designs. How are you this evening?
Hey, buddy. I am pantsless and ready to rock. How we doing?
I think I have no complaints, except for apparently our friends at pardon me, but our friends at Microsoft once again are messing with my volume. There we go, and we're back. And they wonder why people hate Windows 10. Now, of course, I think our regular viewers already know this, that any time that we want to talk about a subject, we go directly to the source. And I would not think a source any greater than yourself exists for Mystic Ninja Designs. Now, am I wrong in assuming that you're relatively young?
Relatively. I mean, it's all perspective, right?
Well, yeah. I was thinking, and I've never asked, but I was thinking like at the most like late 20s, early 30s.
I mean, I don't know if I should spoil it right now or not, but you know, we can take bets. No, actually, I'm 36, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, and one of my things is I always like to go back and find out where the foundation was laid. So, did you grow up as a kid rural or suburban or urban?
All of the above. We actually moved around quite a bit when I was young, mostly in the same area, but I was born in the city, moved out to the more rural areas, I suppose, you know, and throughout my life, I've just been back and forth through different areas, you know.
And so would you say that any one of those environments had a greater influence on you, or was it more of a collective, like a smorgasbord?
Definitely a collective. That's kind of what life is for me. I just collect like, oh, this works, you know, this works, you know. Like you take a little bit from everything and you keep moving forward, you know.
Well, kind of like the Bruce Lee theory. Pick up what you need from the discipline and move on.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Now, did you have siblings around? I mean, was it a mom and dad household?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there is a bit of an echo there, just letting you know. Penoid's yelling about it too. Yeah, I had both parents were around. I have an older sister, younger brother. I mean, lower middle class, you know what I mean?
Well, I think with how people were growing up, especially during your era, there was a lot of mix and match as far as the classes go. I should say.
Oh yeah, totally. Both my parents were always working. You know what I mean, like type shit. Uh, I don't know. My dad, my pops was gone. He did construction a lot, so he was gone like during the week a lot. So mostly mom and me and my sister and my brother. You know,
What,
kind of basic stuff.
were you youngest of them?
I'm actually
Oh,
the middle child.
see, usually the middle child's the arbitrator.
I'm more of a keystone for the family. I consider, you know.
Yeah, okay. Well, I can definitely see that. If if you're if you're setting up, you're in your childhood and you've got the older, you've got the younger. Did you have any difficulty with trying to figure out what your actual place was, or did you think it was a placeholder?
Well, that's a interesting question. My life has been very unique, to say the least. Most of my childhood was helping to take care of my younger brother, who became disabled at one point. But when we were really young, I was like my sister's shadow. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Me and her were like, they thought we were twins pretty much. We're like a year apart, give or take, but when we were younger, we could have definitely passed as like twins, man. We were everywhere, inseparable for the longest time.
Yeah, me and my sister and I, we're Irish twins. She was born in January. I was born in December of the same year. So
Oh, that's cool.
so I can see where that artificial twin thing would kick in.
Yeah, it's funny. My sister was actually born in December. I'm a July baby personally.
Hmm. Okay, so now she being older, did she have any influence upon your music or what you eventually became to know as your craft?
Everything. She had one of the like with music. She definitely had an influence in my teenage years. Um, she had an influence on a lot of things. She was the wild child, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I was more grounded. My brother was a little rowdy too. Even after his accident, he's still rowdy. I'll tell you that.
Well, and it sounds like you do keep close family ties.
Family and friends are the most important thing that we can have in this world, I believe. Truth,
Mm.
like honest. I wouldn't be here without any of that.
Yeah, I can certainly understand that. That's a foundational thing. And so like when you're getting up to the time where you actually, not in second grade where they're like, "What do you want to be? You want to be a fireman or a police officer?" When you get into your later teens, when that onus of graduation is starting to crush in on you, what's your thought? Where do you want to go? What do you want to be?
It's really funny. I'll actually want, if I can, I do want to step back to that childhood thing a minute because it still plays into stuff I do today.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Uh, the first thing I wanted to be in my life was a mad scientist. Frankenstein, I wanted to be him. No lie. It was just something about biology and bringing things back to life and playing God, I guess. It intrigued me.
Mm-hmm.
So from that point on, I went through that phase, and I mean, if I could be a mad scientist, I still would. Why not? I guess I am to a point, but um, I wanted to be a pro wrestler. I wanted to be a comic book artist. Uh, like there's a lot of things I want to do. I almost went into learning how to work with disabled children and going through physical therapy stuff, things like that,
Okay.
because of my brother. That he was a big influence on me too. But teenage years, I was looking at art school or culinary, honestly, and computers, obviously. Those three were my main like go-tos.
So what was the actual filter that narrowed the choices for you?
Life just kind of guided me, man. I rode the wave. I was, started my first restaurant job at 17, and I was still, doing artwork and things just for fun. But yeah, I ended up getting into culinary first. I did some construction, also, between jobs and whatnot, helping my pops out. But
No.
it was just about that time when I started getting into culinary.
And nothing wrong with a little construction. And
Oh yeah, we did concrete work in the summer, man. I actually got ripped my finger open on some rebar one time.
oh,
Five stitches, almost lost movement in my right pointer.
oof. Yeah, that's not a good thing, definitely. Uh,
I got lucky, brother.
oh yeah, we're always uh, doing this stuff like tear outs, and we had a club called the Foot and the Nail Club, or Nail in the Foot Club. There we go. Oh my God, sobriety. It's bad for you. Um, but yeah, I'm always curious. I'm always interested because you can have a multitude of different backgrounds, and somebody growing up in the city can have the same ambitions as somebody who's raised countryside.
Truth.
And I've always found that it's a weird chemical reaction doing the nature versus nurture thing. And I've always found that people who are more focused or who had more options usually either came from a desperate household, single parent just trying to make the paycheck, and vice versa, the complete different thing where you've got the full parental units that are there for you, that basically are helping to move you along the way. Was your father or your mother kind of pushing you or leaning you into what you would eventually do?
They never really pushed. They just kind of let us make our own choices, and they over the years, of course, my folks help guide, like give me advice, guide me and whatnot. But they, I'll tell you this: no matter what I did, they always supported. Like they always showed me support. We didn't have a lot of money. I couldn't do a lot of things, but mom was always there. Dad was always there. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Me and my dad, we had our button heads in our teenage years, but that's stories for another time, I suppose.
Well, that's a have to. I mean, I don't know anybody who did have a dad in the family where you didn't have one of those roll ups or blow ups.
Yeah, and they definitely got pretty physical at times. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, yeah. But it's really hard nowadays to define what the modern father should or shouldn't be. So
It's tough. It was even tough back then, honestly. I looking back and just trying to realize what my parents were going through with three kids, and especially one being disabled, for most of his life, like how much struggle that was on all of us.
yeah, but I would think in the way that you've spoken about it that you've found the disability and the handling with it to be more inspiring than downtrodden.
I mean, what are we going to do? Cry about things all day? We got to push forward and try to make the best of whatever happens to us. Like, I tried to make that decision years back. Like, life controls me to a point, but I feel like I would need to control it. You know what I mean?
Certainly, and that's uh, and I'll get into that just a little bit later when we talk about content creation.
Sure.
Um, but so you're there. You got the diploma in hand. You're ready to roll. Where are we
Right.
going?
Trying to think. After graduation, I was 17 when I graduated, so that summer I turned 18. But we threw some parties, relaxed a little bit. That's the summer I was helping pops out with construction. Ended up getting a job as a dishwasher uh, at a restaurant my sister was working at. I'm like, oh, whatever, it'll work for now. I think I had a brief job before that for 2 weeks on third shift sanitation,
Mm.
and I said F that.
Yeah, yeah. That doesn't make you smell good for the ladies.
Well, it was at actually an apple processing plant where they made apple sauces and things, just anything regarding apples. Like it was just Apple County everywhere.
Ah, okay.
Like I got there, they gave me the wrong size boots to wear, 2 sizes too small. I'm having to wear the beard guard, the earplugs, all this stuff for 9 something an hour. No, thank you.
Oh, yeah, I think we've all had our fair share of uh, jobs that suck. But do they provide you with more focus? Does it give you a little bit more umph to go out and find that thing that's going to make you happy?
I feel like it kind of did. Like I said, I kind of rode the wave and fell into this. Everything just kind of happened. You know, it's just funny how one snowflake turns into a snowball, turns into the avalanche. You know.
Oh, I can certainly understand that. Now, so you're out, you're about, you're an adult, technically.
Technically.
Yeah. Um, what's the big dream that you want to chase? What's that? What was that brass ring back then?
Geez, I have to think on that one. It's been so long since I thought about that. I really didn't have like a huge "Well, I want to be rich and famous and all that. You know what I mean? Like my focus was more just being happy, making others happy, saving some money, like just trying to do the right thing in the world. You know?
Yeah. So I mean, now this I won't call it a trap, but this seems to be something that I've seen from a two parent household that you kind of um, fall into the theory that I got to find somebody, I got to get married, I got to have babies. Was that ever at the forefront for you?
It was always like I would be cool. Um, like to be honest, through high school and middle school and all my education, I was the quiet kid in the back. You know what I mean?
No.
Um, I associated with a small amount of people. Hell, I didn't even date my first girlfriend until I was like a senior in high school, and that was only for a brief period, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, family thing was always kind of in the back of my head to a point, but I was just kind of like, we're just gonna see where this life takes us, because I at that point, 18, 19, I've already seen enough crap. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, sure. Yeah. I can see, especially in the time that you were growing up in. I would think, what have they been calling it lately? The nothing '90s.
yeah. Yeah, that was a very interesting time to grow up in. Like I always refer back to the '80s as my true childhood. You know what I mean? I remember more stuff from there. It seems sometimes.
Well, yeah. Sometimes when the backgrounds are more colorful, they have a tendency to indelibly ink themselves on you.
Yeah, the '90s were a rough period for me, definitely.
And since we're down at the bottom of the hour, I just wanted to make sure. Down in the descriptor, if you take a look, we've got all of his links down there for the Twitter, the YouTube, the Facebook, and Twitch. And we'll be talking a little bit about the life of streaming. But we'll also be having at the top of the hour your questions from the chat. So we'll not be answering any questions about eight balls. But we
Unless you're talking pool playing.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Looks like iRate's going for 16 ball. So I have no idea where that conversation is going. I'm just gonna leave it there. But now you were talking about getting into culinary.
Aye.
Is that a personal passion? Were you one of the kids who got to cook when you were running around the house with mom and pop?
Well, here, like I said, my dad was away a lot of my young childhood working, and mom was pulling her own job. So during the summers, me and my sister would be at home alone a lot. You know what I mean? Uh, and my brother would be babysat by somebody, but mom figured me and my sister were well, old enough to whatever. Um, so I mean, me and my sister actually, she'd cook for me, and I'd help her out sometimes, and I just started from there from a real young age, just trying to learn stuff. When I was middle school, I took cooking classes throughout my entire, education there, K through 12.
Yeah.
Um, Just something I kind of, it seemed natural. You know what I mean?
Well, that
I,
was
I
well, that was kind of before home ec became sexist, and
yeah,
they
yeah,
decided just to not do it anymore. Um, you
that's
know,
sad.
yeah. I mean, my basics when I was growing up, I'm like, hell yeah, I'll take metal shop and I'll take home ec because I might be able to use one of those skills later on down the line. It figured out that it was home ec.
Home ec, I forget they had a different name for it when I was going through it. I'm pretty sure. Uh, I don't remember what the name was, sadly, but
Well,
I just yeah.
I'm old, so home economics was basically the catch-all. Here's what you
Yeah,
need to do
yeah.
when you're around the house.
we had the cooking, and then we had the sewing stuff, and then we needed a different class for everything. I got to make a comment here. Max Sanders, I'm kind of Americana. Man, I don't know if I'm that. Like, I definitely grew up a little differently than most people. I'll tell you that straight up.
Well, now you were from what I understand a Midwesterner.
East Coast.
More east? Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually Pennsylvania. I grew up in a lot of my life here.
You know what? It's still in my brain. I always think of Pennsylvania being more uh, with the Midwest morals than the East Coast.
I mean, it's hard for me to even describe it because I can't give an objective view to it. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, when you're living around the Tom Pinoids, it'd be hard.
Yeah. Shout out to Pinoid. He knows what's up.
Uh, Now, did you ever get the Wanderlust?
The Wanderlust.
Yeah, to travel around.
Oh man. Actually, a little bit. Yeah. As I got older, probably closer to my early early 20s, I'd say really started like we'd go to concerts out of state. Groups of us. We'd stay out at these concerts for like 4-day festivals. Um, and that was my first like major experience with traveling around. I guess.
So,
Uh,
so who were you following?
we were big into ICP and underground hip hop stuff at the time, like the Insane Clown Posse, of course.
And other
But I,
things outside of horrorcore.
oh yeah, like for me, music has always been like a diverse, a cornucopia, maybe. You know what I mean? Like it's always been very diverse. Like I like this, I like this, I like this. I've had my uncle's been in a soul Motown cover band thing for like 30, 40 years. My mom plays guitar. You know what I mean? Not professionally, but she's fantastic. Um, so music has always been like there too. You know what I'm saying? I was even interested in doing that for a while.
Well, and I tell you what, let's do a little sidebar on this. Um,
Sure.
because of course, Spin Magazine rated Insane Clown Posse as the worst band of all time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And they've also drawn fire and been basically targeted by the FBI as as a gang for the Juggalo movement. Yeah, as someone who likes their music, how do you explain? And I'm not going to use the word normie, but how do you explain to
Sure.
somebody who doesn't have any type of exposure to it? How do you explain it? Or I mean, how do you justify it?
I don't feel like it needs a justification, so to speak. But the way I've always related it is like a deadhead to the Grateful Dead. You know what I mean? Same idea, in my opinion. Just a fan of the music. But when I was younger, this whole quote unquote Juggalo movement thing was totally a different scene, man. There was a lot of the fans were people that were downtrodden. A lot of them like the misfits of society, if you will. You know,
And
and they all come together to like support each other and have this family thing. You know what I mean? Because there's so many that I guess didn't have that family. And there's a couple in your chat right now, I'm sure, that can even talk on that at some point in their life. But
Yeah, yeah, we're getting
Pickle being one of them.
yeah, we're actually getting clown love there in the chat.
Yeah. Mr. X, he's a buddy of mine too. He's like, it's hard to really like. Like I said, I never felt like I needed to justify anything, but to explain it, I can understand. Like their lyrics were definitely vulgar. They were out there. They were goofy. But there is something to be said about two high school dropouts that can have platinum records under their belt from their own record label. You know what I mean? At that time, you know.
Well, and to draw a slight comparison, when the NWA came out, they didn't because they didn't have a catchy name for their fans. Well, except for Bloods and Crips, they didn't draw as much fire. But when you take a look at the Juggalo population, there's a lot of white kids in it, and
yeah.
And the thing I think is that it's kind of easier to attack that demographic than it would be for those who liked NWA.
Yeah, it's definitely two different scenes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but should they have drawn as much fire as they did?
Are you talking NWA or ICP?
How about a little bit of both?
Well, if we're going to step back to NWA, like that right there, they were just full frontal. We're going to be offensive, and it's in your face. And I think it's more so to prove a point than anything. And we can look throughout the years of history, especially in media and music, you know, in the arts. Anyone who does anything against the grain is going to be controversial and going to draw some fire, you know?
Sure. I also think a name that pops to mind is Two Live Crew.
Two Live Crew, yeah, that's definitely another one. I'm trying to think the most controversial that I remember, even towards the 90s when gangster rap was becoming popular. That was a big thing, you know? And we NWA to that, then we had this East Coast versus West Coast thing. It was getting ridiculous, honestly. I feel like it was just, people just want to blow things up sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
People just need a reason to talk, you know?
But the thing that always vexed me, for lack of a better word, is the fact that this wasn't something that was overtly as controversial. Well, okay, horrorcore does take into consideration, you know, death and dismemberment, and you know, essentially, just I don't know any other way to say it, fucking people up.
Yeah, like the best way I can describe it is you're listening to a horror movie.
Yeah. And I mean, legitimately, bands like, especially bands like NWA, we're talking about, you know, the real life blood and violence on the streets, whereas it seemed that ICP was going with more of a hyper realistic form of it. You know, kind of making fun of it.
Well, they're clowns. I mean, that's how they described it. Like they're like, we're clowns. We're dressed up like clowns for a reason. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Sorry, my lighter's getting ready to be on the KO.
Oh, me too, brother. I just lit one up like, oh, I'm going to have to pull my other lighter out soon.
Yeah. The old Bill Hicks joke, you know, I'm only going through one or two lighters a day.
Yeah, only one or two.
But yeah, so I mean this is a formulation. I mean, when we talk about Mystic Ninja Designs, I would think that there would be kind of a tip of the hat.
To a point, that actually stems from my love of video games and Asian move, like the kung fu flicks of the 70s and 80s too. You know.
So were you kind of like a Shaw Brothers guy?
You know, when I was younger, it was all about Bruce Lee. I mean, Bruce Lee, and even to this day, his philosophy, and I still read stuff. I still live by a lot of his quotes. You know, I like the Shaw Brothers. I definitely did. I got into them a little after Bruce Lee, I think, and Sonny Chiba. You know, I'm trying to think of then we had, well, obviously Jet Li when he started getting big. Tony Jaa, got into him. And there's a few others, like I can't even remember the name right now. Like Chow Yun Fat, I believe, was another one.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to think who was an Iron Monkey. And he was an Ip Man.
Well,
the face is right there.
Well, Jackie Chan did. Well, no, he did the later version of the Monkey King.
Yes, I remember seeing him as Drunken Master, and then the Legend of Drunken Master was another one.
Sorry about that, guys. I try not to cough in everybody's ears, but I'm on these.
It happens.
I'm on these steroids from those embolisms, so I do apologize.
Oh, you're fine, brother. I don't think anyone minds.
Oh,
We're just kicking it, you know.
well, here's some good Lee quotes. The more we value things, the less we value ourselves.
Truth.
Knowing is not enough. We must apply. Willing is not enough. We must do.
Hell yeah. I got one on my wall right now. As you think, so you shall become.
Yeah. He was a decent guy. If we'll drop into a little bit of controversy here.
Sure.
Because there are conspiracies around him. From being cursed by ancient Chinese spirits for teaching gaijin kung fu, to Chinese mafia triad rubbing him out, having a bad reaction to hashish, to he used to use a Thames system when they were young. The electrical cortical stimulators, for those who don't know in the audience. They said that might have damaged his heart because it was a prototype. What do you think's the real story?
I accidentally hit my mic. Mute on my mic, rather. Okay. I actually watched a video not too long ago. Chuck Norris was talking about it because he was with Lee the night he died, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
They said they were working out, and I think he went back to his room, and that was, you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure it was the brain swelling thing. I believe that. And I think that might have been a reaction to some kind of, I believe it was a headache powder he was talking about, you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that could have had something to do with it. Honestly, I don't think he was rubbed out or anything like that, personally, but I haven't investigated terribly much, you know. But now that we think about it and we look at his son, he passed during making a crow. I'm sitting there thinking maybe there is something to this curse thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was living down in North Carolina when they were shooting the crow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and one of the guys walked into the bar and said, Brandon Lee's dead. And it was one of the guys who was on the crew.
That's crazy.
And it's like, what? It's like, yeah, he's dead, man. Shot him. He got shot.
Yeah, that was a whole mess.
Yeah, that's some weird stuff. Yeah, I don't know if I follow with the ancient evil going around. Now, I do know there's a big story about how the triad showed up on the set of Big Boss.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually got into a fight with him. And they eventually used some of the choreography that he was going to use for the fight that was coming up. But that was a guy who legitimately would have people come up and try to fight him all the time. Because, if you're the badass, then people want to take a piece of you.
Well, even looking into his childhood, he was always getting in fights in the streets and things like that. He was a very brash individual at the time, you know. So I kind of believe that his focus on actual martial arts and his studies with Ip Man helped center him a bit and guide his like the fire in his soul, so to speak. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Well, as long as he didn't turn into Steven Seagal, life is good.
yeah, yeah. Don't get me started on Seagal now.
Yeah. Well, we already know the wankerism.
Right.
But did you ever study any martial art disciplines?
I did take some ground fighting classes, UFC style, fighting for like a year or two, just a small class. Mostly learning how to grapple, how to dodge, how to block, throws, holds, things like that. And we had, so we sparred a lot, until the point of somebody tapped out. We never did punching and kicking. We didn't want to kill somebody or nothing. But
yeah,
I had a lot of fun with that, like a lot of fun.
Yeah, the only thing that seemed to work for me was Wing Chun. And and that's just locks and blocks.
And what's funny about that, that was basically when it was created, I think it was mostly for from a female thing, for females and whatnot.
Yeah, rub it in. It was made for Chinese nuns.
Hey, we're and that's one of the things like Bruce Lee was learning, I believe, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's one of the disciplines that he learned.
And he eventually went into Jeet Kune Do, which was his style, which was just like flow, and that actually, if it wasn't for Bruce Lee, UFC wouldn't be what it is today.
You think?
I mean, that's pretty much, I know that, like, that's what he was teaching, was exactly that kind of style of fighting where you just go, it's not like this pose, that pose, this pose, you go with what's coming, punch comes at you, you flow around it, you know what I mean? And it's not like you have a certain style or a certain formation, like old school martial arts.
Yeah, I mean, because a lot of people give a lot of credit for UFC to the Gracies and the Pancrase style. But
I give credit to Bruce Lee. I encourage everyone to go out there and just do a little research on that. I find that stuff fascinating. Absolutely.
Or if you want to read about the true blood sports of the Kumite.
Hey.
No. I'm talking about like the real one that
right.
Frank Dukes was talking about. Are you familiar with Frank Dukes at all?
Name rings a bell. Can't say I can mention anything off the top of my head.
Well, he's the guy who said that he went into a matter of fact, they based Bloodsport, the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, off of his quote-unquote life, where he had to go and it was like 52 men and they had to fight through them in a weekend, and he won the tournament. And when they asked him, well, where's your damn trophy? Like a couple days later, he produced a trophy.
That's funny. Interesting.
So yeah, stylistically, when you go to, and we're getting to the top of the hour, so we'll have questions rolling in soon. When you get to it stylistically, how do you approach getting onto the YouTubes?
That is I was mentioning that off air, but for everyone listening, like where I come from, it was I'm gonna give a shout out to Pickle, because he was the crew I ran with back in a few years back. We were doing online radio, is what we were calling it. We had a 24/7 stream that was running. It was all independent underground musicians. And throughout, like, the music would play all day on this website. We have a chat room, everything's set up. But then DJs would come on and do shows here and there. And that's where I got my start somehow, randomly through Facebook.
Well, and let's roll this back a little bit, because I'm sure that there's people that have no idea how radio started on the interwebs. What was the first platform that you used?
Well, I mean, I listened to, YouTube when it was first coming up, things like that. Not I wasn't as like big into it as I'd say in the past 10 years. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like when I was really like getting into it, I was listening to the actual radio. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was still at the cassette recorder, and I even up through the '90s, I was doing that. You know.
Oh yeah.
I say about 2000 or so is when I started becoming more interweb savvy, so to speak.
Okay.
uh, um, we got into Bandcamp over the years, SoundCloud, and live shows. There's always live shows going on around me, so I was always going to see that stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh sure, yeah. I think I think one of the things, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this. I think one of the big
Sure.
things that's being lost in music right now is the fan interaction, going to go see people live.
It's something tangible to take home too. You know, you can get on a website and order T-shirts and MP3s and whatever you want, but it's something about going to see your band live, getting a shirt, a CD, you know, even a quick meet and greet if you can. You know,
Yeah.
it's not just the band you're there with. You're with all these thousands of people that are hundreds or 50 people, wherever you're at. You know, you're with people who appreciate the same thing as you. They're there for the same reason as you. It's definitely a unity thing, which I feel like ties into the whole Juggalo thing too. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you're there with people who enjoy the same thing you are trying to enjoy. You know.
Well, I hate to say the word community, but yeah, it definitely kind of fits. Damn, excuse me. Because I initially went and saw ICP through Juggalo Championship Wrestling,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
after the show, then they played. So it was full on multimedia.
Oh yeah, they definitely were tying in the wrestling and the show together for a long time there, because they were big wrestling fans, you know. And to be honest, I haven't thought about this stuff in years. I haven't followed as much as I did in previous years, so to speak.
Well, yeah. I mean, you get older, things have a tendency to move along. The earth spins.
Oh right, and even when I was listening to that, I was still pulling out some Frankie Valli once in a while, and Hank Williams Jr. and Merle Haggard and stuff like that. You know, just all over the spectrum, honestly.
So when you get to the point where you want to do something on the internet, uh, what what's your focusing device? I mean, what was the thing that you really wanted to get on to either talk about or share?
Well, it started with music, honestly. Like being in that scene and in an underground music scene, your local bands that need support and things like that. That's where it started for me. And then as I came out of my shell over the years, because I was a very quiet and reserved person for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
I started to come out a little more, and I thought like I had all these problems, these people didn't, and then I come to realize that, oh, you have this, you have that, and then I actually started speaking my mind a little bit, building some self-confidence up, uh, something I lacked in my younger years, definitely.
Now,
Um,
so now, were you focused more just on the local scene, or national bands that just weren't getting the exposure? Because I think everybody out in the audience pretty much already knows that horrorcore got no radio play whatsoever.
Oh, it definitely didn't. And that's what was beautiful about the scene that I jumped on is they were like one of the first ones doing it. Like aside from ICP having their actual station, which I believe only played in Detroit for a while. I'm not sure all the details on W Fuck Off. Um,
Yeah,
I'd actually have to call Sasha in for that one, but
yeah. I ran into them when they were running it off their site.
okay. Yeah, they did have it on the site for a while there too. I remember that because I'd watch Wolfpack and I saw a couple of Twisted shows. They did action figures and ashtrays, I think it was called. Um, yeah, and I miss that kind of stuff too because that was fun. Like I liked them being goofs. I liked them being funny and just goofing around.
Oh yeah. I think it's nice that when you have this type of outlet that you can actually have people who get on and they just essentially just want to be themselves and talk about stuff that interests them and not always have to get those press junket questions.
Right.
And yeah, I think it's nice to find a place to where, the chill is in effect.
Yeah, like when I was younger, like I was talking a little bit before, I saw some traumatic things, and I know I keep bringing up my brother, but he was a big reason for why, I am the way I am, uh, it's, you realize life is short sometimes, and that you don't have to be afraid to be yourself. And the obscure things in life, the weird things make life worth living sometimes, because that's everything that happens to you, bad or good, is a story to tell. And you have to embrace it as such, I know I'm straying a little bit off topic with this, but
no, not at all.
Um, life is it's a complicated mess. We're all just talking monkeys on an organic spaceship hurtling through space, like we got to stop taking things so seriously, really. Like we could learn to like laugh and love and be fucking, we could have a utopia on earth if we so chose,
Well, I've always been of the thought that even if there is something after life, I'm gonna plan like there isn't, and do as much as I can, make as much of an impact, put some type of impression somewhere, and
Right.
hopefully that's going to be an inspiration. When you take that into consideration, what do you want to inspire people to do when they're listening to your shows?
Well, I just want people to just relax and laugh a little bit, open up, be themselves, be their true self, not what they feel like they have to be in front of people or hide part of yourself. Like just be you. I mean, I'm a guy that just jumps online, calls myself a pants stealing ninja, tries to make some people laugh. We have a little fun with life, make some pretty artwork or ugly artwork or whatever. What in the end of the day, though, I just want to inspire people to be a little nicer, kinder to each other, more understanding, more consideration in the world. Like this world's suffering a lot. I feel like a lot of negative vibes out there. We're all downtrodden, feeling down. Somebody's got to bring us up, and if we aren't going to do it for ourselves, who is?
Well, now you don't seem much like a bootstrapper kind of guy.
Ha.
But
we all have our ways and means, I guess.
But well, no, I mean, it seems like you have a positivity about it. Not like well, if they can't bring themselves up, fuck them.
We have to look out for each other, man. That's one lesson I've learned in life. I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for people helping me out through my life. Whether it be a conversation or a financial loan or whatever it may be, whatever you want to call it, as long as you're trying to do something to better a human being, you're not only bettering them, you're bettering yourself in the same aspect.
Yeah, I think
I know.
I think there's always the type of I won't call it pushback, but centrifugal force.
Oh yeah, I look at it this way though. For every one of me, there's an opposite of me out there, right? But the universe needs that. The universe runs on a balance, And that's I believe that if we're not balanced ourselves, then the universe is also going to be it's a whole trickle effect in my mind. Balance is key to all things in life, and life is nothing but perception. If you simplify it to that, I think people are going to be much happier.
Yeah, but how do you in your day to day? How do you extend to get that personal balance?
It's trials and tribulations. Like, as weird as this sounds in my head, okay, I'm at work and I've been doing this chef gig for 14 years down here. I look at each time I'm doing something as a battle in this great war. You know what I mean? Somewhere in my soul, I swear there's a warrior. You know what I'm saying? And I believe everyone has that in them. And I just want to. It's just over the years, the more you focus on something, And the more you remind yourself of what your previous thoughts were, because how often do we say something like, I'm going to do this, and then totally forget about it 2 weeks later?
Yeah.
It's just keeping that in your mind and keep reminding yourself of these experiences, that bring you to the person that you are, to try to do better. Because just look around, the world's suffering. Like, there's people without houses. I can go down the street and see two guys sleeping on a bench right now. You know what I mean? And this is a small rinky-dink town. Like, it's a sad thing to see. And when I see people like that, man, I hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like, I honestly feel a pain in my heart. Like, man, like, why are we doing this to each other?
Do you think that in the modern day, it's more about societal conditioning now?
It's a mix of everything. I feel like we're so sucked into media, and when I say media, I'm talking like, look at everyone around you. Everyone has has an iPhone or an Android or some kind of cellular device. It's mini computers, right?
Mm-hmm.
The double-edged sword, man. I love technology. I absolutely love it. But in the same time, I believe it's making us dumber. It's giving us less hope, because what do we have? Life is easier. Where's our challenge? So that's why we have the drama we have. That's why we have people engrossed with drama, like it's to the point where life has become way too easy for us. What else are we going to do?
Well, I really can't disagree as far as what you're saying about tech. Tech was made to, expand our horizons, and it seems to be more boxing people in now.
It's a double-edged sword, brother. Mm-hmm. It's, and you just got to know with any weapon how to use it properly.
Well, yeah, but I don't think, to be honest with you, I don't think the training is out there. I don't think there are any people opening their dojos for common sense.
Well, and that is funny that you say that, because that was another thing that I wanted to do, was try to help people help themselves, man. Because I too am struggling. Like, my life is far from, a normal life, so to speak.
Yeah.
The way, and I some of the guys here, I don't talk too much about my personal life on here, but we talk out of the scene sometimes. And like, the whole Pants Ninja thing was a persona, it was an idea of pants are today's modern day shackles, right? And it was just a joke. The whole thing just started as a joke. And I was like, I'm going to take your pants, because think about everywhere you have to go, you have to wear pants. And most of those places you don't want to be at. You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah, okay.
And the first thing we do when we get home, what do? We change clothes. Most of us take off our pants, and it's a comfort thing. It's hey, relax a little bit. Life is too serious as it is,
Oh yeah, I'm always without pants when I'm home.
See, that's what I'm saying. And it's funny, because the Pants Ninja became this thing to this person. Like, somebody's like, oh, he's taking all them ladies' pants. You know what I'm saying, right? And then this other person's like, he's making people laugh so hard their pants fall off. You know what I'm saying? It's a Kaiser Soze, man. It's however you want to see it, is what the Pants Ninja means. But it all ties into that philosophy that life is short. Have some fun, relax. Love is so much better than hate. Like, honestly, I have experienced hate. I fight it back, because hate is just letting a bad thing control you,
Well, and it's funny, because there's a lot of bad things that happen. And I mean, you can either take the path of, well, it's going to continue to shit on me, or you can be like, I'm going to take a shower and let's see where I get to from there when I clean myself off.
It's funny you're saying this, because I have a story here, and I'm gonna talk a little about my brother, because that is the biggest thing that ties into all this, and you'll understand in a minute.
Okay.
So I was 8 years old. Sister was like 9, brother was like 6. All walking to school one day. He runs across the street. He's over across the street. We're like, come back here, yada, yada. He runs without looking. Car hits him.
Oh.
Yeah. 6 years old, man. And we're all walking to school seeing this shit, right? Threw him like 30 feet. Whatever. He ended up being in a coma for 3 months.
Wow.
Um, and he was flown to he was in 2 different hospitals. And the one day he just pulled his feeding tube out of his stomach, woke up and pulled it out, tried to pull his trach out and hit the nurse button, I guess, by accident. He just woke up one day, and he's just already trying to get out of everything. Um, we went through speech therapies with him. He still doesn't talk properly. His mind's permanently going to be brain injured. Like, he talks slow, he moves slow. But going through the therapy with him, me and him were close, when I was kids. I met so many children with so many problems, made me think about my own life. I met a kid that was hit by a Mack truck, all right, straight up. This kid was my brother's roommate. He couldn't even talk. He just grunted, but he was always smiling and laughing. And I'm like, man, this dude just got smashed. This kid smashed by a truck, and look at him, still happy. Still, people think their lives are bad and they don't know what bad is sometimes.
No,
but
and it kind of makes you think that maybe they might have been clued into some type of cosmic secret that all of us running around with the quote unquote normal intelligence.
I'll tell you what ties in with all this, though, is that it was my biggest inspiration in life to try to take a more positive path on things. Like, I was constantly bullied as a child, I didn't have a lot of friends. I was quiet. I was pretty much straight edge till the age of 20, I never drank, smoked, anything. And that's because, my sister was the wild when my brother was going through this, and I felt like I had to man up at an early age,
So that caused you to break out into a different direction, because I know a couple of guys who were straight edge.
Right.
It honestly does seem kind of like a phase, but it's more of a I'm getting my shit together phase. Right.
Yeah. And it's funny because as straight as I was hanging out with some people you wouldn't even believe. You know what I mean? A lot of our friends were definitely into alcohol and drug use and just being rowdy. You know what I mean? Causing whatever. And my dad was a rowdy when he was younger. It all ties together. It's just funny, because his pops was a Vietnam vet. He was in a motorcycle gang thing for a while. He was wild. And I just seen that, him and then my sister and then all my friends, and I'm like, I've had enough of this. I think I'm gonna try to do something different. So I tried to be responsible, and then I get older and I start letting loose a little more, and that's when we start finding our balance. You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
That's where it all comes into play and shaped me to who I am right now.
Well, like my grandfather used to say, you have to find the edges before you can see the picture.
Yeah, that's you always build the frame on the a puzzle first. At least I do.
Yeah. Well, it's the easiest part.
Right, and it gives you something to start from, and that's the thing with anything in life. You don't think you can do something, I guarantee you fucking can do it. You just got to find a way. You can do anything you want in this world, really, especially in these states. There's a lot of people that believe that the U.S. is this, that, and the other thing, right? Like a negative context to it. And I'm like, all things considered, you can pretty much do whatever you want within reason. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Logically. Now I'm talking just on paper, just thought, whatever. You have more opportunity than you truly believe. People are going to argue, well, I don't have this, that, and this. Well, there's a way to get that. It might take you a while. You might have to put some work in and be creative, but there's a way to do anything in life,
And with that thought, I will encourage the chat. If you have any questions for the Pants Ninja, please feel free and throw them into the chat, and we will get to them as they roll.
Yeah, please ask me some stuff because I like to talk. And I you don't even touch the tip of the iceberg that is the ninja, man.
Well, and yeah, that's definitely. Well, I'm not gonna say that I have anything actually written out, but But yeah, I kind of like to get to the build in the last hour, because a lot of times The people in the chat have more information than I do, or they want a better definition. Because they are, of course, fans or followers of the things that you do. So I want to ask how important is it to have a big audience? Is it at all?
That's a thing that always boggles one's mind. Like it comes down to the question of quantity versus quality. You know what I mean? Would you rather have a lot of mediocre apples or like 3 really good ones? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's all perspective. Like I'm gonna keep going back to that because I'm like, people are gonna see it how they want to see it, But for me, the way I'm looking at it, like I feel that trying to get some bigger views out there helps. Like, and not just like, hey, I want to be rich and famous on YouTube, but like it's to pass a message along, man. It's like we're playing telephone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's and I think this is just me personally, but I do think that the adpocalypse was a blessing because of the fact that there was so much crap being cranked out, and there were people who were getting paid who just did not deserve to be paid. And now that it's kind of shrunk, it's kind of gotten a little more focused, that people out there are realizing that, hey, this may be a hobby, but this also might be a way to deliver a message.
I'll tell you this, it's funny. When I started working with the online radio station, I just recently started doing Mystic Ninja designs, which I might actually go on that for a minute to sidetrack for a second.
Oh, that's not sidetracking. It's about you tonight.
Yeah, I tend to ramble from this subject to that and back to the first one. I'm a little all over, but Mystic Ninja Designs just randomly started after I was going to school for video game design. Didn't get to finish. Funding ran out. Had some problems with. I was working full time, trying to help take care of my family at the time, and various other things. Just trying to juggle everything got a little much, but ran out of funding. Started my business up on Facebook, just whatever. I have a legit sales license. Like I was all excited, like, oh man, finally, I feel like I did something,
Yeah.
Like I have this under my name. And small business, as a lot of people know, is a big pain in the butt sometimes, really, especially with marketing. And then you got how many other guys out there, and these guys are sometimes better than you or different than you, Like, how do you market to that same audience with what you're doing,
Yeah, when I was in advertising, there were people who really dug the stuff I did, and there were really a lot more that shit on it.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm cartoony. Like I feel like this whole persona nobody really takes too seriously, which is cool, because then I can come out and be like, let me drop some knowledge. Bam, done. Then walk, and back to pants stealing.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Well, you got to have the hook. It's just like in music. If you don't have a good hook, then yeah, they're not going to listen.
Anyone can stand on a street corner and talk, but if you're wearing a Darth Vader outfit, more people are going to listen to you, I feel like.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? It's the same idea. You got to have a character. There's always a character, and everybody has like a persona that they don't, always show. Like everyone is wearing a mask, I feel like, anyways. So what a perfect way to do it than just put on my own mask,
Yeah, but life, especially on the interwebs, is very kabuki.
Yeah, kabuki. Everything is everything, right? How's it? I was just thinking of a song. What's Slade? Run away. You know that song?
Oh yeah. They're
talking about, hey, chameleon, all things to everyone. I'm like, yeah, that's about right.
Oh yeah, it's and I think that's a thing that people are having trouble grasping now that the adpocalypse is said and done. Now that demonetization is a normal thing, it's just you have to be able to hook them into what you're saying. You have to be able to be presenting something that is intelligent but it can also be entertaining and humorous, maybe a little heartbreaking. When you get set up, because I know we've talked behind the scenes just a little bit that
Right.
you want to have like a little bit of a format running.
Right. And actually, if I was going to bring that up, not to interject, but the Mystic Ninja design thing, the reason I brought that up was when I was doing radio, like we just did it for free, but I figured it was a good way to advertise my business for free too, you know? And that all tied in together, and that brought me over to YouTube here, because we were mentioning about that earlier too. Because we used to have a formatted show. See, I'm going to tie it all together, I promise.
You're fine.
We used to have a formatted show. We did interviews and had special guests on. We had a theme every time. We did Dojos After Dark, which I'd let the show run after our normal hours, and we'd get crazy in there. It was fun. The dojos just seemed to fit also because I felt like it was a training ground. You know what I mean? Like we're all learning from each other, and it really seemed to tie in well together, you know? But yeah, I definitely want to get into formatting things better. I want to get back in interviews. I want to do some animated projects I've been thinking about for years now. It's just hard to do. Like I'm a one-man operation, and it's hard to do all these things.
Well, you should hook up with some people like Gasly. That's an amazing story, and he's getting his shit done. I mean, it's hard. It's hard too, because I know there are people out there who are caught in what I call the Da Vinci frame of mind.
Aye.
Where you can do everything, but what do you focus on?
And that's the problem I find. Like currently I have a ton of projects I'm working on, various things, trying to do the Twitch, the YouTube. I just started picking up clients again. I got the full-time gig. I got life. Like it's so sometimes distracting, you know, this thing distracts me from this and this and this. We can't have time until we make time. You know what I mean? It's all about discipline and focus at this point. Like, and I'm trying to get mine too, you know?
Well, that's completely understandable. I don't think there'd be anybody out there in the audience tonight that would disagree.
I just feel like I'm spitting basic knowledge that everybody knows, but it doesn't always seem to be the case, you know?
Well, and here's the thing. When you get to the point where you know that you can do different things, how do you keep the frustration level in check?
I was going to make a joke, but I don't think it's appropriate.
Well, hey, you know, it's whatever on this show.
Okay. Well, I was going to say furious masturbation with donkeys helps, but that was just a joke.
Well, only if you can make money off the pictures afterwards.
That's what I'm saying. You can make a buck off anything in this world, like especially the States. Move to China once. I'm sure you can sell anything there too. But it's like you said, the frustrations, man, I still challenge. That's still challenging me now. Like I don't have an ultimate answer for that yet. For me, I just find a way to vent my frustrations. I game, you know, I'm big into gaming, obviously, with all the nerdy gaming stuff I talk about, you know?
Well, you've got a Twitch stream that's down in the descriptor that I have not visited.
Oh, yeah. Only have a few videos up. Just started that actually up in the past few months. Mostly there's a couple people I mess with on there that I'm playing around with. I'm still learning that. I need to get a better camera, update the graphics card, which, you know, I'm willing to, you know, you guys need some artwork, hit me up. Like I'll do something cheap, you know, whatever. It'll buy me a graphics card. But
there you go.
You know, I eventually would like to be able to make some money, not as a profit, but like to invest in the things to create and bring more content, you know? Like I want to make independent movies. I want to do, I already started working on music. I have like 3 or 4 of these electronic songs I'm working on. I play guitar, you know, I like drawing, cooking. There's so many things that I'd like to show the world, you know, and not just me doing it, but other people doing it. Like, I listened to a show the other day with Buzz, and you were interviewing Buzz, weren't you?
Yeah, I've interviewed Buzz.
Yeah, I was here for that, and that really made me think too. Like, it's really fascinating some of these craftsmen these days because they're hard to find. I feel like You don't have a true blacksmith anymore.
Well, I've actually interviewed a blacksmith.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like they're few and far between, though.
Yeah, I think one of the thread lines that runs through the show is that I always want to interview interesting people who do interesting things. I mean, you can be a social commentator, but what are you doing with your hands? And
true.
And I mean, if we can break out and say, hey, yeah, there's still blacksmiths out there. There's still beekeepers out there. There's still people who who sell rocks. For God's sake, I mean,
yeah, pet rocks. How's that?
Yeah, I mean, people who have the knowledge and who are willing to share. I think that's getting kind of lost because a lot of people are stuck with the fact that, oh, well, it's going to be a digital world and everything's going to be digital. Well, no, because somebody's going to have to fix your car. Somebody is going to have to level out your subflooring when you have a big flood and you have to have things replaced in the home. There are always these skills that are time immemorial, and I think people kind of lose track of it because they've got everything or what they think they have within the click of a digital button.
Instant gratification is what it boils down to. People want things now and they want them right now and they want them correct. And they expect that. People don't have the time to put in to learn how to blacksmith because of we're forcing ourselves to be in a rat race that we don't have to be in, If everyone can just unplug for 5 minutes, pull back and just look at their life and be like, okay, let's analyze what we're doing here. We can break some habits, make some time for things like I feel like we're straying so much away from what we're supposed to be, as human beings, as a society, even.
Well, let's deep dive into this.
Yeah, sure.
If you can, if you would say what the biggest cultural issue is right now, what would be on the top of the list?
Biggest, well, when you say that, the first thing I think of is what's the biggest issue for me? What do I see as the biggest issue from a personal level? Mm-hmm. And basic human survival, man. Like a housing for people, food for people, the basic needs. I feel like there's no reason that anyone in this world should be without. Really.
Well, I can't disagree, but into that effect, what do you believe other people's roles should be? I mean, should we be bootstrapping people?
I wouldn't say anyone should be forced to do anything. I don't feel like we should be going out there and fighting wars and making it worse. Like, war just brings destruction and death, and you know what I mean. And
well, it's the biggest.
It's a balance, though.
It's the biggest profit organization out there right now.
Yeah, sometimes like it's funny because I read a lot of philosophy. I used to, at least. And one of some quotes that stuck in my head was, "If you want peace, prepare for war."
Yeah.
Like you can't have peace without war, I guess. Like you can't have light without dark. It's one and the same. It's one of the same coin,
Well, they used to say that peace was just the resting time between wars.
Yeah, and it's just we don't understand ourselves as human beings. Is the biggest problem. We don't know how we tick. We don't know. We think we do, but we don't. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's too many people out there paying other people to tell them what they need to think.
Because they don't know what to do, and we're lost. Everyone's lost. Not everyone, but when I say everyone, I'm using it as a broad general term. Obviously, I hope it's obvious.
Yeah, I would think you're correct in saying that society is kind of off into the weeds.
Really, like there, you do have groups of people that think for themselves, act for themselves, whatever, cool, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're right either. You know what I'm saying?
But
It
but I've always been of the opinion that no matter how outrageous an opinion is, it's valid in the fact that it helps to give you better focus of either of, oh, hey, yeah, this guy's got this right, or this dude is completely off his nut.
right, and it's all how each person was raised, how they lived, how they grew up, with their thoughts, their feelings, because we're all, like they say, it's a snowflake society, right? I hear a lot of that word being thrown around, and I don't see it as a bad thing. But when you think, you're something special just because whatever, like if you think you're better than another human being, you just better just fucking knock your ass back down a peg. You know what I mean? Not one of us is better than any other of us. I don't even care, like we're different, you know?
Well,
Like, yeah, you might be better at making something than I am, but I'm different in the fact that, you know what I'm saying? I don't see that as a bad thing. We need diversity. Like we do. How else are we going to learn to grow outside ourselves,
well, and my mom always told me, like, when I would win something, when I get a first place, she would always say, well, that's great, but there's always going to be somebody out there better than you unless you apply yourself.
Right. And that's what people neglect to think is, well, if they're better than you and you really believe that, then you can get better. You just got to work at it. You got to believe in yourself, because your mind is a more powerful tool than anyone can even fathom. Perception is so important to me, and I keep bringing that up because I really want to drive that nail in. Like, people just look at it differently. Please try, like, just pull yourself out of yourself for a minute and start believing in yourself more.
But with all the people who are demanding to be diagnosed, especially in these later generations, that seems like an incredibly slippery slope that people are looking right at the forefront, and which flies in the face of what your brother's doing, which is, basically trying to find a reason to fail, an excuse to not be the best they can be.
Right. And I want to bring something up. Dan's mentioning something about if you don't see snowflake as a bad thing, you are a snowflake. When I say the word snowflake, I mean we are all individuals. We all have our own belief systems, our own identities. And that's just plain fact. Like, yeah, we're going to have a lot of things in common, but we're going to have some things that are different, That's just the way of things. I think snowflake is being used in a negative manner. Yes. I think the way they're defining it is not quite what it means,
Yeah, they're using it because when I was a kid, they would say, yeah, you are a unique snowflake. Now go out and sparkle.
Right.
And now it's like, snowflake in the past 3 years is a complete derogatory term. But
right, and in 5 years it's going to be something different,
Yeah, it's linguistics, and you can't really get caught on those type of trappings because a lot of people miss the message because they misread the intent. And
truth.
People need to really stop getting. We need to go back to sticks and stones. Because people are saying that all these words and things are hurting them, and that puts blinders on them. It makes them not have the ability to take a look at the full picture, to get panorama.
And that's the thing, where blinders is a key word right there. A lot of us wear them, Don't even realize we are sometimes.
Well, it's... but how do you personally apply that into your life?
And just keeping that in mind itself makes me try to just think outside of my normal thought realm. Like it's always keeping something in the back of your head, just keeping a constant reminder of something, I can explain that a little further, I guess. Like if I'm looking okay, like I'll use work, I guess, for an example, because I just got out of there and it's what's on my mind, I suppose. Like I work in a kitchen, everyone has their little stations they run, and sometimes people come in a crabby mood in any work setting. You know what I mean?
Sure.
That happens. And no, sometimes people just take it as, oh, they're being a bitch or they're being an asshole. I'm like, have you ever stopped to think why? Like, what happened to them? And how many times have you done that? You know what I mean? Like, we're quick to judge others before even analyzing. It feels like, you know.
Well, I will say that I have a bias. If I see somebody with a lot of luggage, then I have a tendency to kind of step back. I want to see what's happening, but I don't want to unpack any of that shit.
Right, and that's I'm just what I'm trying to portray is before you make a judgment on them, just think like you don't know how their day's been, what they've been through, because there's times I've come into work crabby as hell, and people are just being an asshole to me. I'm like, well, my dad just did get to the hospital, and yada yada yada. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it just takes sometimes a kind word to really and that's another aspect. Like you see someone in a crabby mood, just talk to them for a second. Don't ask them about whatever. Just bring their mind off something else, totally change their perspective.
Well, and I went on air 2 days after my mom died, just because of the fact that I didn't really see any use in just wallowing around. Might as well go ahead and get something done. Her voice in the back of my brain, telling me, well, okay, that was good, you did that, but what are you doing now?
Right, and that's a common thought in a lot of humans is, well, you did this for me then, but what are you doing now? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so you're now on your Twitch now. Are you running gaming or are you doing talk show or?
The Twitch was mostly going to be for gaming.
Okay.
I pulled out some old games that people don't play anymore, and I say old in relative terms. I think I did some Friday the 13th streams. I did The Forest, which is a survival horror game that's actually pretty awesome. But I really like the Friday the 13th stuff. I was going to just do that on there, and we were going to make videos and all this stuff. But nobody plays the damn game anymore. But so I figured, like, okay, I'm on Steam. I have like 140 games on there. Yada yada is too old for you. And Trippy, stop bothering me. I'm doing something here. Jeez. He didn't even know. I'm like, I'm on Doc's show right now. Can you give me some time here? He's like, you coming on tonight? I'm like, maybe. But, I digress. The Twitch is mostly for game streaming, and just having fun, relaxing. I want to entertain people. The shows on here are meant to be. Some are going to be randomly, wildly funny, goofy. Others are going to be more serious tone. We change it around a little bit. I don't want to stick with just one thing.
So what's your bent on doing the dojo?
What's this now? Sorry, you cut out on me.
I was saying, what's your bent on the dojo? What do you want that to be?
The dojo is going to be like I was saying. Like I feel like it's going to be interviews. Like to basic terms, we're going to do a lot of talk, just random thought. I love people interacting in chat, talking with us. Like I like to talk to people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I have a feeling that's just going to be, like Bruce Lee. It's going to be it's going to flow. Some days it's going to be this. Some days it's going to be me. Let's say you, me, and like 4 others just sitting there chatting about whatever's on our mind at the time. Imagine just coming in and trying to learn something, or just sitting at the Cheers bar.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same catch that I use for IRS. It doesn't really matter. It's just people sitting down, having a couple of drinks, and just talking about stuff. And honestly, I don't think there's a lot of that on YouTube. Now, you people can say that I'm wrong, but usually it's formatted. Here's this thing that we're going to discuss, or here's this political agenda that needs to be addressed, or here's what somebody's doing wrong, or here's who I'm in a fight with.
Right, and it ties into that instant gratification thing. People are in such a hurry, they don't want to take time to sit and chill anymore. They went, oh, I'm going to look up this U.S. terror attack, or I'm going to go look up the stock market thing, or what's happening down in South America. One specific topic. They don't. It's like they don't have time for the variety anymore. Like the old variety shows that I grew up watching were like reruns of like Laugh-In and the Smothers Brothers and then various other things. We had the Muppet Show when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, and
Like you don't see that anymore. You don't. There's no variety shows really.
oh well, when I was growing up, it was all variety shows. I mean, I even was inflicted by the Brady Bunch musical variety hour.
Right?
Look back on that one, people, if you don't know that one. But
like there's no quality, I feel like, and I want to mention this before we go on here. When I first sat down and started listening to you, Doc, you are exactly what I strive to be. Like you have it, man. Like you do exactly what I wanted to do. It's sitting, just chilling, hanging out, taking a minute, and adding some insight, adding some jokes. Like it's variety. It's not just one stale topic, and it's a beautiful thing you're doing. And I fully support like everything that you got going on here.
well, I certainly appreciate that, and I do enjoy having people coming from all the different neighborhoods on the YouTube, sitting back and having a quiet chill on the Insomnia Ramble stream. This is more. This show is more of my. There are people out there who deserve to have a voice, and hopefully, even with the couple hundred views that I end up getting, hopefully somebody somewhere down the line is going to find something that we've talked about, something that we've said that resonates and can help them a little bit farther down on their path to be a little more altruistic about things.
And that's exactly, we are historians to a point, honestly. We're taking records of what the now is, what the everyday human being's thought is,
Yeah, and people have been talking about how, well, something is going to eclipse YouTube. Something's going to take it over.
Perhaps.
And that may or may not be the case, but for the time being, they've been around for what, 12 years? So
yes. Oh yeah, something like that.
So, the funk's going to keep going.
There's going to be a ways and means. You know what I mean? Where videos, like, it's not like MTV. Like, we don't have a real MTV or VH1 anymore, I don't feel like.
Yeah, but I miss that. Every so often I'll tune in on somebody who's taped a block of it, like on a VHS, and then digitally transferred it.
Right. YouTube needs to be here, I feel like. Hell, I'm looking at what's being brought out on even their YouTube original stuff, right? That Cobra Kai shit is tight, man. I'm loving that. Absolutely.
But that was the only good thing.
Sadly, yes. But at least they got that.
Yeah. I mean, if you're having 10 flops and one hit, it'll probably keep the studio going.
Yeah, and that's what anything takes. Think about that. Like, how many movie companies made, like, 50 busts and, like, 5 blockbusters that brought in 20 times the amount any other, you know what I mean? You can't get, like, you're not just going to make instant success. It's a growing thing,
And I just wanted to point out, since we're at the bottom, if you have not yet, go ahead and take the 20 seconds, pop over to Pants Ninja's YouTube. It's listed down in the descriptors as well as the Twitter, the Facebook, and the Twitch. My stuff's down there too, but what we've been talking about as well. This has been in my descriptors for, I think, since like episode 9. It's the prescription for additional entertainment. These are people that are small YouTubers. Well, most of them are small. But they're people who have a voice, who have a point of view, who have a take. And if you can take some time after we're done here and just click on one or two of them, check out a show, see if you like them. Because word of mouth is the only way that quality has the tendency to make it through.
That's a true story.
Now, I have to ask this because we're trying to get people to load up here, load some questions up before we get you offline. So if anybody does
Sure,
have any
sure.
questions, please feel free, throw that. And what is, if you have to pinpoint it down, what's the one thing when you wake up in the morning that you're looking forward to?
Oh man, yeah. Some days I'm just happy to be seeing the sun. You know what I'm saying? Because it's you're alive. You had another chance at this. Like that's the way I look at it. And I hate to look at it so like black and white because that's nothing's black and white. But sometimes you just got to take stock in the little things, man. Like I like what I do at work. Work's a big part of me. I always like being productive, making something. Whether it be something on the internet, something at the job, just being creative and busy in some aspect and creating and just making.
Well,
Um,
my grandfather always told me that that when you're in the kitchen making food, that's the only time that you're closest to God because you're in control of all the elements.
Right, and it's I'm not a huge religious person. To each their own on this. I mean, I was raised basic Christian beliefs. But I stem a lot in philosophy, like I said, and that's coming into there. There's idle hands are the devil's playground or something like
Yep.
that. And even if you're not religious, like that's true. Like when your hands are still, when you're sitting still and you're bored, in a certain mentality, I should say, at a certain age, you are going to get in trouble. I guarantee you. You're going to be doing something you're not supposed to be doing. You know,
Hmm.
I'd rather put forth the effort to make something positive and try to make a positive change and impact on this world. Because if we don't start doing that, it's not. We're just going to keep sliding down, man.
Now, do you think current social mores, in fact, religious beliefs, do they get in the way of philosophy, or do they help to buoy it?
It's all the same. It's all one and the same to me. Whether it be philosophy, religion, whatever, it's on how you wield it. Like I'm looking at stuff like that, like a weapon, because it's the simplest thing. It fits the gimmick. All right, let's just roll with it, right?
Yeah.
So a Bible can be a tool or a weapon, however you use it. You know what I'm saying? Or a Quran, or the Book of Mormon, whatever. Um, what I feel like is people need something to believe in, whether it be a deity themselves. They need to have something to move forward to, something to look forward to, I should say.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of faith. You don't necessarily have to have religion, but you do have to have faith, and it's got to be in something.
Right. Yeah. There's so many people that are quick to bash religion. And I can't agree with that. It's not who I am. Like, I can't judge you because you don't judge me. And that's the way it should be. We should learn. I always press that, man. I'd rather have you know, a, a conversation like this than an arguing, yelling match with someone else. You know what I'm saying?
But in today's society, do you think that's lost? That the art of conversation is slowly eroding and going away?
Well, I believe everything has its time, and I do feel like it's happening to a point, but that's just because I'm not actively searching it either some days. Day to day, I make sure to have at least some kind of conversation with somebody. And I find that the more you're proactive about it, the more obviously it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I do feel like not a lot of people are proactive to talk anymore. Like they're so scared. People are afraid of exposing themselves in any way whatsoever, showing a weakness or anything like that whole line.
Oh yeah. I'm tasked on that on a daily basis, and it's like, you know what? I've done an interview about me before, and they wanted to ask about, well, you've had strokes and all this stuff, and I'm like, I don't want to talk about that because that's just gravel on the path.
Right.
That's not my actual path. I'm looking at the sunrise or the sunset that's down at the end of the path.
It's just part of the journey, man.
Yeah,
Like,
it's something that eventually you trod under your feet and you don't let it build up to become a barricade.
And you got to think though, like, and this is what I do when I go through a tragic experience. If something like that happened to me, I would look at where I am now, and see what happened to this point and what I've made of it. You know what I'm saying? And it seems to me that a lot of people like yourself that have been through, whether it be a stroke or a physical, whatever, like it doesn't define you. It doesn't define who you are. But I'm sure it helped to build who you became. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's one of those things. If you're going to be a true tough guy, you got to punch through the adversity. You don't need to be knocking somebody out to prove you're a tough guy. Prove you're a tough guy every day, just by waking up and getting stuff done.
True freaking story, man. Like, and there's people that I was a big, like, I didn't believe myself much when I was younger. I didn't believe in myself, as much as I do now. Like, there's just one day I'm like, I'm tired of feeling like this, I'm going to try to step it up. Now, I do deal with like anxiety and depression issues and things like that at times,
Honestly,
but
I think that's a normal thing with everybody.
It seems to be. At least that's what they diagnose it. I just feel like I'm having a bad day. I'm going to have a bad couple of weeks, Give me some time to get through this. I'll be okay. But then there's times that it really, like, it haunts you the more you think about it,
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I mean, life sometimes can try to compact you to make you. And I always think in the back of my addled brain that it is essentially another one of those challenges, another one of those quests, something that I'm supposed to go through, and there's going to be a lesson on the other side of it.
Everything has a lesson we learned if you want to see it.
Yeah, good or bad. And we do have a question from Sir Adamantine. He said, "Ninja, what's your favorite dish to make?" Now, I'll expound a little bit on this. You got any ingredients that you want? You got the date coming over. How do you impress that date?
Well, I'm already not wearing pants, so impressed first off.
There you go.
Like, this is funny because there have been a few times I've cooked for dates and things like that. And, I just feel like I'm old school with like a thing, like I hold the door for somebody. I'll help, I'll offer seat, not just for women, for anyone. Like, I think it's just respect thing, So I think there's something to be said. It's the same idea as the blacksmith. Like, you made this, you created this is part of you, and you're sharing that with somebody, in a sense, you're sharing a part of yourself with somebody through a meal. You know what I mean?
I do, but what's your specific? What is the dish?
It's hard to, the point being with that's where I'm getting at is with all my diversity, like I've done like shrimp scampi is a big one. That used to be one of my favorite dishes to make. Honestly, I love garlic. Like love garlic and onion. I could cook with everything, I've made. And then, more traditional family style stuff. You do the pot pies from scratch, and you do, I was big into pastas though, like pastas, saute items, like Mediterranean cuisine. I love Japanese style cooking, Asian in general, even. Let's just talk stir fries, So I think it was a blend of all this stuff, and nobody beats my fried chicken. I'm just saying straight up. My fried chicken and greens are solid, on point.
Now that's a skill if you can make good greens, because that's just like eating grass.
I'll tell you, there was an Italian couple I worked with at one time at this restaurant. One lady, Donna and Brody, I believe, were their names. And I'm cooking there, and Donna tastes my food. She's like, "Is there any Italian in you?" I'm like, "No, none at all." And she's like, "You're honorary Italian with the way you cook. Oh my God, one of the biggest honors I've ever had." Like, that's, little things in life,
Oh, now I was talking collard greens.
No, right. I was going to say, though, I had on the same aspect. There was a friend of mine, big into Southern cooking, down South kind of folk. He tasted my greens, and he's the one who told me, "You make some of the best damn greens I ever had in my life." You know what I'm saying? Same idea is what I was going to get at here. Roundabout, we took the long path to get there, but we're there. Like, I don't know. I think they're good, and like you said, it's a hard thing to make. Um, it's not even that hard. I don't feel like, you just get some, your vinegar and your onion and bacon going, and you rock out the seasoning, let them greens simmer for a while, get it going.
See now, I was always taught, if it's not working out, hot sauce.
Hot sauce. See, I don't do hot sauce a lot, man. I don't feel like I feel like the flavor should be in the food. When I eat a Texas Pete or something of that nature, I feel like I'm drinking vinegar with a hot pepper in it.
Oh,
Now,
well,
that's just how I feel about it. You know what I'm saying?
we're actually going to have we're actually going to have the Pepper Palace on in a couple of months. They make
Wow.
specifically hot sauces.
Right.
They make one called the End, which if you go to their actual place of business, you have to sign a waiver. And I don't.
That's cool.
I don't. Okay, I see the gimmick, but I really just don't see the rationalization. Because if it's too hot, then yeah, you're killing your taste buds. The flavor's gone.
And that's a lot of like I said, I just say Texas Pete as a base example. Now, I've had some good hot sauces. I'm a fan of the smoky chipotle flavors, I like some good heat, but I don't want it to kill the food,
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I don't know if we're more towards, because I've kind of had like British cooking where they just make it all bland and flavorless, and then they just set down a fucking spice rack and say, go at it. And it's like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
shouldn't you have gone at it when it was in the pan?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I've made sauces from scratch, like hot sauces from scratch and stuff. It's quality ingredients in any recipe makes all the difference. And I feel like everyone out there learn how to cook something. I'm telling you, like, anyone can learn to cook. I don't care. I burn water or whatever. Like, no. You just don't know the proper techniques and you're not taking the time to apply them. You can learn how to cook. Everyone can.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why people devaluate cooking as a skill. I mean, drive-through now apparently is a skill.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, I'll give credit to the workers in there. Like, they're busting some tail pushing out them, dollar burgers and shit, man.
Oh, and by the way, Dan S, Good Greens, the secret recipe, if you're doing it down south, you put a little bacon grease in it.
Oh yeah, it's all about. I use bacon grease. I've used ham hocks. I've used any kind of like pork. Just a good solid pork, man.
Oh yeah, I went to the food pantry a couple months back, and they had marrow slices. And
okay.
And the guy just looked at me like, "Yeah, well, we're giving these away. Do you want any of them?" And I was like, "Well, yeah." And he just kind of stared at me, and I'm like, "Yeah, you can make a roux with it. You can make a broth with them. They're really flavorful." Yeah. And it's like, well, then why doesn't anybody want them? And it's like, well, probably because nobody has a dog to give the bone to afterwards.
I take my stock from scratch all the time, man. It's not hard. Like, I'm going to tell everybody, like, if you save your veggie scraps, even, like, you're cutting an onion up, save the skin. You're cutting that celery, save the ends of it, save your roots, whatever. Put that on a pot and cover that in water. Let it go for like half a day. Just keep putting water in it and let it go down. You're going to make a really rich, nice vegetable stock that you can use for so many purposes.
Oh,
it's simple things like that, man.
Dude,
like really.
We had somebody across the street, because it's about that time where things are starting to grow again. He had a whole patch of wild onions.
Right. Okay.
And he ripped them all up, and I'm like, I'll take those. And he's like, what the hell are you going to do with those? I was like, are you kidding? We got some chili coming, and these little bulbs. I mean, they're kind of like little itty bitty flavor bites, kind of like a little small round piece of candy, like a Dippin' Dot.
That's what I'm saying. Like I don't even know half this. Like foraging, that's a lost art, I feel like.
Well, and the problem, as long as you're not a freegan, those guys, right, I do not like.
I don't even know what the hell a freegan is, brother.
They're dumpster divers for food.
Oh, I mean, I get that. Society wastes a lot of food too. Man, being in the industry that I'm in, I've seen so much food waste. And I'm sitting there thinking there's starving people in other areas. You know what I'm saying? And it just drives you insane some days, that train of thought, man.
Well, I'm still of the I'm still of the mind that you can only help somebody so much.
Right.
Because it's like the old thing, like when I was a lifeguard. You never want to try to rescue a panicked swimmer because they're going to end up dragging you down too.
It's truth. You gotta. There's an approach to it, and you're not going to be able to save everyone. Those not willing to be saved too. There are people out there that don't want any help and don't want to try to get better. And I feel like the people I've come across with that mentality usually have some kind of mental illness or something else that holds them back that they don't even realize. You know.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I'd say deer meat is best Jolly Rogers Bilgewater, but I am a big fan of it.
Venison is very lean and tasty. I'll give it that.
Yeah, we used to have a buddy of mine hunt in an apple orchard, so the only thing that they were eating the whole time was like apples, and the meat was like incredibly sweet. It almost killed the gaminess of it. Interesting, because food is interesting.
It's funny. Anyone we can talk food all night, man.
Oh,
And like that's what's funny about my life is like somehow I gained all this knowledge in food. I know all this stuff about like it's just a matter of opening your horizons and then paying attention sometimes, finding something that interests you and just actually focusing on it just a little bit. Learn something, you know. I challenge everyone out there to learn one new thing a day. You know, no matter how small, no matter how big, just one thing.
well, and turning it back into the topic, cooking
Sure.
takes time.
Everything, yes. Cooking definitely. It took me. I've been like I said, 17 starts a dishwasher. I'm 36 now. I've been in the industry since then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, and it took a lot of time, different places, different techniques, self study. Uh, if you have a passion about something, man, like I fully endorse like taking some time out of your day to just read up on even an hour. You know, do something with that passion. You know, it'll make you feel better. You know, it'll help expand your horizons. You'll just become a more well-rounded human being.
So what's the payoff when you draw?
Everyone's creative. I feel like I just want to express ideas and things. Sometimes it's for my own benefit. Sometimes, hey, somebody needs something I can provide. I've done, this guy comes to me, hey, can you do a logo for me for my album cover? Sure, whatever. I'll try. I'm not the best artist out there, honest to God. No, I don't feel like I'll ever be the best at anything, and nor should I be. But, I offer qualities that other people don't, you know. I'm willing to work with prices. I'm willing to negotiate, whatever. I'll trade. Like I do things in trade all the time because the barter system is a solid system that has not failed me yet.
You know what? I've got so many people that I barter with. Like when I started into vaping, I helped a guy run his shop, and
Right.
and he was like, well, I really can't pay anything, and I'm like, I'm getting you on your feet, dude. I've got skills that you don't have that I do. I'm more than willing to share them instead of letting them gather dust. So I'm getting paid just because of the fact I'm able to do this stuff. And he kept me in vape forever.
That's awesome.
I mean, yeah, bartering is not a bad thing. The economy is always going to be run by the almighty dollar. But, when we were talking about the old, think globally, act locally, bartering can certainly be a part of that. Or so I think.
I mean, I agree with that. Sorry, somebody was asking me like, you're on right now? I'm like, yeah, we started at 8. You're kind of late to the party.
Kids today.
Well,
instant gratification.
Right, no, she dear friend of mine. I'm gonna give a shout out to Amanda. Actually, she's a really good friend of mine. She had probably with the kids or something she was doing. She's been. It's like I said, friends and family have brought me to the point where I am. I go through crap. There's people I lean on, and they boost me right up. So I feel like everyone needs that. You know?
Yeah, I mean, not to be all est or touchy feely, but yeah, you've got to
Sure.
have a support system.
I do come off touchy feely sometimes. That's a good point. I should bring that up. I I still think, a man, you got to be a man or a woman or whatever. You got to stand up and fight sometimes. Sure. Like, but I feel like there's always a better path with taking that not Gandhi like approach, but like less fists, more thought. You know what I mean?
Well,
Fists can be brought out when necessary, sure. Like be able to back your shit up, but
and I fall back to the old Bret Hart thing because they
right.
always used to give him shit for wearing pink, and Bret Hart's a tough guy, and he just like what I just like pink. Sometimes that's all the explanation that you need. Oh, okay. Well, here's one from Irate Prostate. He's saying, "What is your take on giving trophies for showing up?"
That's funny because I was going to bring that up earlier and totally forgot to. Irate, thank you for bringing that up. You definitely, I get what they're trying to do. They don't want people to feel bad, right? Let's just look at it the basic terms. But without, I'll tell you, without me feeling bad and not getting a trophy, I wouldn't be the person I am now. People. Yeah, okay. I'm a firm believer in competition. Let's say that you should be able to compete. But there doesn't have to be a hatred behind the competition. You know.
Well,
So what? So what? Little Johnny got first place and your boy got third. He still made the first three. He's still, it's a rating system. I get it.
try harder, do better.
Right. And that's the point I was going to get to was now these other, say there's 10 people, you only got 3 places, they won. So you got these other 7 kids sitting here like, well, we lost. Right. It's a matter of trying to get them to do better. Give them something to strive for. When you give everyone a trophy, what are you striving for exactly? Where is the challenge? Where is the life lesson?
I remember when I was a kid, this was junior high school.
Right.
It was a track event, and I was doing discus. I placed 7th, and they gave me like a yellow ribbon. And I just looked at it and threw it in the garbage because I was like, this legitimately means nothing. It just basically means that I've got a reminder that I need to do better, and I already figured that out.
Well, some people need that reminder though. And that's what I was saying about keeping that thought in the back of your head. That yellow ribbon was your thought, but you kept it and you know it. So why, you don't need it anymore. I get, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Some cats, though, they need that reminder because if it's not right in front of their face, they forget about it because our minds are so goldfish these days. Back to technology, back to all the other things.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems that they're being educated that whatever effort they put in is good enough. And I never grew up that way. And the kids that I help raise, I never allowed them to think that way because you get into the point where nothing is detrimental. Everything's hearts and flowers. No, life's a roller coaster ride. There's going to be those ups and downs.
You need them. You can't know light without the dark. People I'm telling you guys, man, if there's anything you take away from this show, life is perception and balance. Because everything we've talked about up to this point, ups and downs, lefts and rights, it's just, it all ties in, it really does.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, do you bother to follow the politics that are running around, or is that just one of the things that's a constant din in the background?
It's in the background time. I'm interested in North Korea though. I have no idea why. That nation just intrigues me. And the fact that Donald Trump got a summit with him and sat down and talked twice, despite whatever happened at the fact that he did that, if I was North Korea, I'd be pissed at us too. The Korean War, we ruined their country, straight up. I wouldn't like us either,
Well, and I think because we normally don't talk about politics, But I think
Right, right.
I think it's important because once again, it falls back to people are having conversations.
And that's the point I'm getting at. Like, that's what we need to do. Like, I'm not saying for or against Trump, whatever, whatever. But the man is making. He made it was an historical event, despite how you look at it. I feel like it was.
Yeah.
Um, it was like, who am I thinking? Who Nixon? I'm having a brain fart. Didn't
Nixon
wasn't
met with the
Nixon? No,
Chinese.
Chinese. That's right. That was it's something like that. Like. Yeah, I could talk history. Like, I'm even thinking about Japanese history with art with the U.S. Like, after World War II, they started like Americanizing their country. I feel like, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, when
Um,
you've got an industry standard, if you don't try to follow along or catch up, you fall by the wayside.
I want to say, Sir Adamantine, Korea is only good for sex. Perspective, you know.
Uh, I can't disagree or agree with him. I've never been to Korea.
Neither have I. Yeah, that's one thing I want to do, man, is travel. Like, I really want to see the world now. I don't have money for it. I've never flown a day in my life. I don't even have a passport.
Okay,
You
well,
know?
you got a passport. You got you've got the black credit card.
Oh man,
Where's the first
yeah,
place you go?
Tokyo, absolutely, without doubt.
Really?
I feel, I'm gonna get weird. Okay, I don't know if people believe in paranormal normal things or past lives or shit like that. Psychics, whatever, whatever. Right? I'm kind of in the belief that anything's possible, but I would like to see some proof. But I have there's some kind of feeling that draws me to that country, man, that I cannot describe to anyone. Like, and I've talked to psychics before couple times. Like, I try to keep an open mind. I've done the tarot card readings and things like that, and I've felt weird things in my life, that I'm sure everybody has at some point. Maybe I'm just living in a fantasy world, whatever. But
Well, that's the
I
thing. Once again, I think that kind of falls back to finding your footing on the path that you're going. There are people out there who believe that they cannot leave the house until they've centered their chakra. There are people who believe they
right?
can't leave the house until they have that big cup of coffee.
It's the same idea. It's all one and the same. Like, but I don't know. Like, I want to get back. That's the Tokyo thing. I'm fascinated by the culture, like Japanese culture in general, the history. I love reading about the history. The Hagakure is one of my favorite books ever, and I've been reading that since I was in my teens.
Well,
For
for
those,
those who don't have or who have not read it or been familiarized with it, can you explain the Hagakure?
I can explain some. I'm no expert on anything. Never will be.
Just in generality.
It was from what I know. And if you know anything that I'm wrong on, please correct me, because I hate looking like an idiot. But it was a former samurai who was lost his master and was forbidden to kill himself in a ritual suicide manner.
Mm-hmm.
Became a monk, and he had a ward, or not a ward, but somebody who was like, he'd give his take on life. And the Hagakure is a collection of thoughts from this guy. I don't want to mess the name up. Momoto something. Just look up Hagakure online. You'll Google it. You'll find the author. But it's a collection of thoughts and philosophies and ideals of how a samurai should be, and how one should be if they're a warrior. And it intrigues me. It's a different take on things.
Well, and it's not.
It's the way of life is found in death, I believe, is what it kind of translated to the title. Something along those lines.
Hagakure is hidden by the leaves.
Yeah, hidden by the leaves. And then there was a whole take on what that meant. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You obviously, yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I had my moments of spiritual crisis when I was in my early teens. So I just started absorbing everything that I could just to get the perspective. And
I'll tell you, yeah, on that note, like I'm looking at my bookshelf right now, okay? And among cooking books and comic books and random other things, there's a whole little philosophy section down there. I have the Bible, I have the Book of Mormon, I believe. I have the Hagakure down there. I have the story of Siddhartha. There's books on Taoism, Buddhism. Like it helps to keep an open mind, I think, you know?
you know what my favorite book is for explaining Taoism? The Tao of Pooh.
The Tao of Pooh.
It explains Taoism through Winnie the Pooh characters.
Oh, and it's beautiful. Like I did read bits of that when I was younger. I remember that.
Yeah, I mean it's all about perspective. The thing that I find a hard time with is somebody, you know, slapping down a Bible or a Quran or a Talmud saying this is the teaching of God. And it's like, well, you know, these were written by guys though. So can we get a little bit of, okay, make this the buffet, make this the sampler platter, you know, take a little bit from this, see if it, you know, mixes well with that. And, you know, basically find anything that has positivity in your faith to help get you along. And yeah, I'm all about, you know, not to be Buddhist, but, you know, the whole follow your path thing.
I do believe like everything has a repercussion too, good or bad. Everything you put out, you're going to get back. And that's just basic laws, you know?
Well, you know, that is very pagan.
Label it whatever you want. A rose by any other name would still smell as sweet. You feel me?
Oh.
Like, I think we just label things too much too sometimes. Like, we are so absorbed with just making a bigger deal out of everything.
Well, I think that's because this type of societal OCD is kicked in to where
right.
People have to be able to categorize something. There is nothing out there that cannot be categorized, but when they start subcategorizing and going into smaller and smaller genres, they're pigeonholing things which could have greater impact and greater perspective.
Huh. Yeah. I want to shoot over to something real quick because this is something I just caught some of the comments we're getting here, right? Samurais used to steal heads to earn glory because samurai are honorable cause. Anubis, right? And that's funny because I know people that were at war that used to think that cutting off the ears of the enemy and keeping them on a necklace was power. And if we look back at Native American, I know there was some. What was now I'm not too familiar on old Native American stuff, but I knew they had some spiritual thing there. All these different like.
Well, they used to do the one
groups.
thing now that's become a fetish, which was the you know, hanging by your flesh until you saw a vision.
Yeah, and that's a whole thing, man. That's a whole thing altogether now.
Yeah, but I mean, people come up with some of the strangest cultural aspects, and some of them stick, some of them go away. But does it greaten or reduce their importance?
That's I think we're still going to learn that lesson sooner or later. You know what I mean? I haven't even had an answer for that personally.
Well, now, you know, this show, if nothing else, is all about personal perspective.
Right. I'm very like unsure of a lot of things. You know, I may sound like I'm like, okay, this, and this, but the truth of the matter is all I know is nothing, you know? I'm still learning.
Oh, Pinky's saying that they call it the sun dance. I don't know. I studied the shamanic faith too, and most everybody was like, yeah, you want to stay away from that. That's for fringe. So I took the peyote walks instead.
I see. I was the one walking beside the peyote walkers. I like my group of friends, man. Being the straight edge, like I started, you know, smoking marijuana when I was probably in my 20s. First time I had a drink too. Believe it or not, cigarettes 18. And that's about all I've done. That's it. Everyone else I know have done everything under the sun, and I was always the one chilling with them. And it's like I said, I'm not a religious person, but I had an ex girlfriend of mine that used to talk to me about this shit, and she was a Wiccan, I guess, at the
Yeah.
time. And she talked about my aura being so bright and all this stuff. And we discussed matters of, I'm trying to be a good person, but all my friends are this. And she's like, even Jesus walked with the horrors and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's fascinating to me. Like, that is an idea, you know?
Well, there were a lot of whores back then, so
Yeah, true story.
you know, you caught in a crowd.
You caught the crowd, whatever crowd followed you took, right?
Yeah.
And I find myself in life, just not that I'm not downtrodden in my own ways, but always sticking with the underdogs, always hanging out with those that, you know what I mean, aren't up on the pedestals, you know?
Well, now I should ask: have you ever tried consciousness expansion, from what they call it?
I don't think I've tried anything along those lines. You know what I mean? If I'm diving into anything like that, the most I've tried to do is mess with my dreams. Like, there was a point where I was learning to do controlled dreaming.
Oh, lucid?
You know what I mean? Lucid dreaming. There we go. That's the word. Thank you. And I unlocked that a few times, and it was kind of fascinating to me because I clearly remember it to this day, all the times that's happened, you know, which makes me think that there's something that we can unlock in our brains that we haven't yet, you know? And that is also, like, I'm just curious by nature, man. I want to figure out as much about us as I can before I go, you know?
Do you think that we're stunting ourselves right now with technology, in the field of consciousness expansion?
Well, I think technology, like I said, is that double-edged sword. It depends how you use it. You know, if you get sucked into just one thing, and that's, God, I wish I could remember the quote, because there's a quote from the Hagakure about this. Like, when two things become one type thing, it's too much of one thing is a bad thing. You know, everything in moderation. And I think that's our problem, is that we get so sucked into one thing. You know. We don't know how to break free some days. We don't even realize we're trapped. It takes a lot to break out of the mold you're in and your daily habits. Because comfort, you know, it's creature comforts. And I know a lot about this because I am constantly stuck in my habits.
Well,
you know?
Well, here's a good quote.
Sure.
Learning is a good thing, but more often it leads to mistakes. It is like the admonition of the priest Conan. It is worthwhile just looking at the deeds of accomplished persons for the purpose of knowing our own insufficiencies. But often, this does not happen. For the most part, we admire our own opinions and become fond of arguing.
It's truth, and that is, I remember that quote. It's like I was saying earlier. We all try to find something to talk about sometimes. And the drama, we're engrossed in the drama because life is too easy and boring. And that's why we argue. We're the only creatures that know how to entertain themselves through other means. You know what I mean? Like, really, it's fascinating.
Wow.
I didn't expect us to get this deep, brother. Shit.
It just goes where it goes, man. It goes where it goes.
I like it. I like it.
Well, Irate is saying in the chat that, is autism the next stage in evolution? That's wow. I never thought of anything like that.
I've heard like theories of that. Well, by definition alone, evolution is defined as, I'm sure you got this, Doc. I'll leave this to the professionals.
Well, I mean, I have trouble with evolution by itself. I'll be honest with you.
Right. Okay, sure, yeah.
Because of the fact that, you know, evolution could be something as easy as getting rid of, you know, an organ that you no longer need. But then you get to the societal aspect of it, and it's basically evolving as a community. But I don't think anybody really knows the actual definition of what social evolution is.
Yeah, Devo. Let's talk about Devo a second. their whole name was de-evolution, pretty
Well,
much. You know.
I had one of the
Oh yeah,
founders on.
that's why I brought that
Yeah.
up. I wanted you to plug that because I want to watch that. Like I got to check that out.
He was definitely an interesting interview. He's we're booking him back on because he sent me an email directly after the show. It's like we have to do a part 2.
Oh, that'd be tits,
And
man.
like I'm gonna say no.
Well, I was going to tune in tonight anyway, so it was funny that this all worked out as it did. I think and I want to tell you something. Like, just yesterday, I put the Discord app on my phone. Okay, just yesterday, first time ever. And now, if I didn't have that on my app, my phone, I would have never done this today.
Well,
it's just funny how it all played out.
Yeah, I'm still not going to give Discord any love, but I will give respect.
I'll say that Discord is a pain in my ass, but you've been helpful. Thank you for that. Oh, we got Anubis just said something. The problem is that people have life too easy, and therefore Darwin can't take hold. So we'll probably do it through a pandemic or something. And that's funny you say that because I don't know who believes in what deities out there, but Mother Nature is real. Like, however, like you want to look at it, we've had plagues, we've had, especially the weather issues. Like the weather's been changing violently. I feel like, or maybe it's just being brought to our attention more. I haven't quite figured that out yet, but.
No, wait a minute. Doc never lets me on anymore. I'm asleep and I wouldn't be on anyway, but that's hardly the point. Yeah. Thanks, James.
Yeah.
But
I
mean, we've got people out there playing gods right now, and they're messing with things. I think everybody can agree that AIDS was manufactured. I mean, they've already been able to point to that. It just didn't naturally generate. People who are being convinced that vaccines are no longer any good. We're now seeing outbreaks of the measles and rubella, and even in some of the third stage countries, they're seeing things like smallpox and becoming deadly plagues. And weren't we supposed to evolve past that?
I suppose. I mean, just because we've had the vaccines, I think is why we haven't caught everything. Pardon me 1 second. I'm about to sneeze.
Okay. Well, we can always track back to if nature isn't trying to thin the herd, then the stupidity of those who think that they are gods are.
I often said, take the warning labels off and just let nature take its course, right?
Oh yeah, make a bag of ramen noodles, the same type of visual bag as rat poison, and we'll see the Darwin effect.
I always joke about that, but on a serious note, I would rather teach somebody and keep trying. Like I give people so many chances in life just for the plain fact that I've messed up a lot too. But human beings have the ability to not only be stupid, they have the ability to be just as brilliant. And I think in time, it takes time, even with somebody with a lower mental capacity can still, achieve. You know what I mean? Something worthwhile.
Well, Victor Rand in the chat is saying playing God is the privilege of man.
Sure.
Not necessarily. I mean,
to a point.
Yeah, unless it's playing God to be a benefit to mankind.
And that's what it's all like self-definition too. What is playing God? People thought, I don't want to get this, in a big politics, or I don't want to get too serious. You know what I'm saying? But there's certain subjects like abortion, for instance, or cloning, or things of that nature, that people believe that's playing God. I mean, and I can kind of see that, which stems back into the mad scientist thing from the beginning of the show, like it's the same idea. I mean, I wanted to do it. Who doesn't want to do that? if you had the power, I guarantee you, most people out there would take it and try to use it.
Yeah, I think I think it's all the point of being able to establish doing what you can do within the limits that you're given yourself. I don't think, the phrase overachiever is not used very much anymore, and I think that's an okay thing because you want to be able to do as much as you can to reach your potential. And if that's, helping somebody out, including yourself, then that's a good thing. I think when people are trying to push other people to overreach, now I think that's where we fall into the well.
Oh yeah. I want to shout out to the salmon quick. She was just like, Pink Gulf City Salmon says, I don't think you can raise everyone to the same level of usefulness. I agree with that. I will say it's a different level for everyone. But the fact that they're even putting in a bit of usefulness compared to degression, you know what I mean? As I call it.
Well, yeah.
Uh,
It's kind of like
like,
it's kind of like the autistic guy that the only thing he knows how to do is load buns into the burger toasting machine at Burger King.
right.
That's performing to the best of his ability.
And he's doing something productive. And I'm very biased when it comes to standing up for disabled and mentally disabled and things like that. Because my brother went through that shit, man. I've seen a lot of good kids that they can't help the way they are. People can't always help the way they are. Sometimes they're born with limitations, Sometimes things happen to them. Life happens to us all. And I've experienced a lot of life for my short 36 years of living, man.
Yeah, I had an old MC buddy of mine that lost his legs when he laid his bike down, just shredded him, done. And so he was in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. And he was like, you know what? You guys need to stop bringing up what I can't do.
Right.
And
it's not always what you can do. It's what you can. And shit, there's tons of shit that I can't do. I'm not saying I won't ever be able to do things, but there are certain things that I know I'm not going to be able to do, even with a physical limitation. You know what I'm saying? I'm having my issues too,
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that eventually and invariably that we talk about on here is my little catchphrase, which is flex your pec. And PEC stands for you got to have passion, you got to make the effort, and you got to be committed to see it all the way through.
And shirtless Sundays used to help me. That was fun.
You want to explain a little bit about shirtless Sundays?
Sure. The dojo we used to run. I'll talk a little on that real quick. I've mentioned it a few times to a few people, but I like to tell stories. So the dojo would run on what was called Muser, which was my underground space entertainment radio, the station I've been talking about earlier tonight. From 10 to 12, I think I would do the dojo with Sasha, and we had various co-hosts with us, guests, whatever. After 12, most of my guests and people would leave. It'd be me and one or two people hanging out, and it turned into hey, everyone's gonna take off their shirt and hang out on webcam. It only happened a few times, but it was so much ridiculousness. I started as a joke. I didn't expect people to do it, but Pickle can, if he ever shows back up, Pickle can vouch for some of that stuff, man. That was all sorts of things going on cam that you would not expect, and sometimes you didn't really want to see, but it happened. And I'd just be sitting there talking and playing music and whatever we're doing. It was like lose your pants. You know what I mean? The same idea.
Well,
just relax.
Well, and once again, you're doing something outside of what the algorithm nowadays would be expecting you to do.
Right, and the problem with that is how are you going to transfer that to YouTube? That's for a smaller venue. You got your house shows that you do. That's for that type of stuff.
No.
There was things we just thought were funny at the time. Okay, let's try it. Why not? How it worked for Howard Stern. Why not?
Yeah, that's true.
And we were goofy. Like I like to push the limits sometimes, just to see how far we can take it, just to see what the boundaries are,
Well,
testing the water.
well, and that's the thing, that, and you can correct me on this, but it seems like the algorithm of what YouTube wants, they want to make it more generic, more mainstream, but in their thought of what is generic and what is mainstream, that's an unachievable goal, because I don't think anybody knows what is technically
True.
generic or mainstream.
And my big question is, does it really matter that much?
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be people who prefer football over baseball or basket weaving, for God's sake. There's always going to be proclivities, and I think YouTube basically just needs to back off and leave it alone. Let people do what they do, and hopefully, when the real, true, hateful stuff comes around, then that can be curbed.
Doc, I gotta say something real quick, man. I'm really glad I met you, and I'm glad this is happening right now. I told some of the boys in the green room, as I call it, the other day, you're like my Obi-Wan Kenobi, man. Like, I feel like I'm being trained on some next level shit right now,
Oh, I would definitely not go that far. Plus, I'm far too sober to take compliments.
Well, get a drink and then let that marinate. But I'm the type of guy that I gotta say what's on my mind, man, and that is just the thought I had, Like you got a good thing running here. You got great people you're connecting with. You're amusing. Being on the Ramble stream, just sitting there listening is a friggin' blast.
Yeah, that's a good time. I just go off into my corner and let people go.
Right, and that's sometimes what it is. Sometimes like people just need that. James, he just mentioned something. He's like, I got a 60-year-old preacher watching my channel now that lives in my town. Mainstream is, well, whatever anymore. Point being, like that's something that we're talking about the YouTube. We've made it so much easier for people, everyday people, to just come up and share their thoughts to the world. Double-edged sword, of course, but I don't think it's a bad thing. Like we can see where we're at in society just by scanning the waves, man.
Yeah, like I was saying at the beginning, if you're just basically taking a look at the pic, you've got a 4-foot canvas in front of you, and you're staring at a 1-foot space, then you're not getting the picture. And sometimes that picture might be something that you don't like, but if you don't have the benefit of being able to see the entire thing, then you're basically cheating yourself at that point.
And that's true. And I sometimes we're just so overwhelmed that we can't take the time. We don't feel like we can, I don't like the word "can." I really don't. Y'all can call me Pollyanna with my bullshit some days, because I've been called that before. But I'm just saying, like, I'd rather live looking at this like this than trying to see all the bad and shit. I'd rather learn from a bad thing than dwell on it and focus on it and breed some hatred bullshit on it, man. Like, hatred weighs me down personally, and I'm not saying that's everyone, but that's me.
Well, hatred is a fuel that'll only get you so far down the road.
Right. It's true, and you can fuel yourself on anything out there, man.
Yeah.
Emotions are fickle. Like I don't feel like we should base our true beliefs on emotions, obviously. But it's hard to separate emotion and logical thought some days. I'll put it that way.
Well, I think that's the real schism that's happening in society right now too, because there's a lot of people out there who just aren't thinking through things.
Yeah, it's sometimes you just need somebody to slap you in the face. Hey, check this out. Look at this. Even no matter if we're broadcasting, as I call it, or streaming, as everyone else calls it, to one person, 0 people, 20 people. You know what I mean? You have a message, it's out there. You're leaving it there. You just some people are going to be guided to it. Some people aren't,
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, I'm sure there's probably something in your life where it was something that somebody said that maybe you might have come back to them a couple of years afterwards and said, "Hey, do you remember that one thing that you did, or you remember that one thing that you said? Well, that kind of really helped me out." I've got so many instances of that where I'm embarrassed because I'm like, no, I don't remember, but I'm very glad that that helped. I think more people have more of those magic moments than they understand or that they realize.
It's a true story. Like it really is. It's hard to see the light when you're stuck in the darkness too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, when you get shit on so much, you just naturally expect to smell like it for the rest of your life. And that's why you can take a shower, people. It
I want. They're saying that Uzi's like, you never wear pants. I'm like, shorts aren't pants. And then we got Daisy Dukes Magic Shorts. Guys, you want to know? $9.99 a month. You can check out my premium Snapchat. No.
Yeah, I'm just wearing the polka dot boxers tonight.
Right. I am on my head. Honestly. No, maybe. Who knows? Doesn't matter. I'm just a voice that you're listening to. I'm not even here. So there you go.
I'm not even Anubis. I'm not even getting into the two truckers one cup thing. Just not going to do it.
Trippy, I'm breathing for you.
Sorry, I was taking in because the lighter is dead, and so now I'm doing the vape run. But I think and gosh, we're rolling a bit late here, and I certainly appreciate the time.
Hey man, it's all groovy. I appreciate you having me on. This is honestly the second or third interview I've done in my life.
And
I don't come on these much, honestly, and I just respect you so much that's why I jumped on it. I'm like, yes, you could, yes, I'm down, do it.
Well, I do appreciate that because I mean, well, first off, I always thought that you had an interesting take, and there's been more than a few people who have put forth criticism that like, oh, you only interview left, and you only you only interview the right, and you only interview the centrists, and you never interview anybody who has the feels. But
I definitely got the feels, man, all day.
yeah, I mean, it's important because in categorization, once again, you start to go into that subcategorizing, and it takes away from the power or the earnestness of anybody's words. And I think that's something that really needs to be out there, that people need to hear the different perspectives, because when they don't, once again, big picture, they're missing out on it.
Right. If I may share a quick story. Sure. As you can tell, I'm pretty open-minded about things in life. There was a time in my early 20s, I had half a house I was renting a room from. Like 5 or 6 of us lived in this house, right? Bunch of guys in their 20s, couple of girls in their 20s. Like, we had fun. We had a pool table, all this shit, right? I'm on the back porch playing guitar one day, messing around. 2 Mormons approach me and just start hanging out, right? And one guy asks for my guitar, starts pulling off some Nirvana stuff. We start chatting. I'm like, come on in, let's talk. What do you guys got, right?
Yeah.
And throughout the months, these 2 guys, Isaac and I forget the other guy's name, but the one was from California. We talked. They shared their belief system, and I listened, And the best thing I've ever heard from some of these guys was, look at religion as a glass table that was broken up into shards, right? Each shard is a separate religion. Separately, they make sense, but when you put them all together, they make the bigger picture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that really impacted my thoughts, like from then on, just on everything in life. That is one experience that helped open my mind to the point where it is now. Just for being open, sometimes you just got to open the door, and you don't know what's going to come in. Sometimes it's going to be bad. Like, don't get me wrong. but take away something positive from that and move forward, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. When it comes to religion, I don't practice it, but I don't think people, you know, if you like burgers, that's fine. But why should you be spiritually fed the same thing over and over again when there's so many other things out there that you can sample, and maybe you might find your own personal perspective to get down that path.
Right. I mean, I can come on here too. There's a side of me that wants to be a dick some days, straight up. Like I want to be an asshole some days, but not in a vindictive sense, just to be funny, you know?
Oh yeah, I loves me some trolling.
Right. I was a bit of a troll, and mine is more of like mind fucks. Like I just like to play with people's minds sometimes, confuse them, make them think things. Like I can say with a straight face some of the most fucked up shit you've ever heard in your life to somebody without even batting an eye. I have a hell of a poker face. You know what I mean? And it's just fun to use that to play jokes and pranks on people. Like right, straight up, you got to have fun with life, you know.
You got to have a way to decompress, and I know there are things that I laugh at, people don't find funny in the least, but it doesn't matter because it was basically done to make me laugh.
Yeah, it's for you. It's not necessarily for everybody else. But I look at it like if somebody's going to take something cool from that, awesome. Like, and if not, it's cool. Like, I'm not going to go listen to Yanni right now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
See, I keep thinking back because I'm old. I keep thinking back to the old
Right.
Coca-Cola commercials. You know, the "I'd like to teach the world to sing."
in perfect harmony. Yeah, know your history, guys. What's up?
Yeah, I'd like to buy the world a Coke. Yeah, that's gonna help.
Yeah, I originally I thought I'd like to buy the world some Coke, and I was like, well, that might make them more productive.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Although I did see the oh god, the one that Chef Ramsay went down and watched how they made cocaine.
Okay.
Oof. Yeah, if you ever get the chance to watch that, you know, because he was going all around the world finding out about cooking, and so they were showing him how to cook Coke. And
That's funny. I'll look that up.
Dirty feet and gasoline? No, no thanks.
Uzi, I do have a Twitter. If you look under the video, it should be one of the links under there. I don't use it much, but I see that all you guys are doing it, so I'm trying to be a little more active on there. I have an Instagram too that I've used like 5 times, so I don't even promote that. I was working on a website. I never got that finished.
I have legitimately never posted anything on my Snapchat, and I get like
I Snapchat, I do.
And I get like a follower like every other week. And I'm like, I'm not putting anything. Why?
Yeah. Sometimes it's those Russians, man, those bots. Like, I'm a member of SoundCloud as well, which I didn't promote here. I totally slipped my mind. I started making music and stuff. I'll do the sound. Go to my Facebook if you want to learn about that stuff, though. Like, that's where I talk about that stuff. But what was I saying now? I lost my train of thought.
Well, you were talking about SoundCloud.
SoundCloud, okay, yeah. Well, we were making music. I forgot to promote that. That was something else I wanted to shout out. But like, there's all these things I want to do. Like I said, I need to focus myself. You know, I'm hiring a secretary, by the way. If anyone's available, no pants required. I used to have one. Shout out to Rainbow. I miss her. She was a good person. Helped me out with a lot of things.
Yeah, I'm just happy that the woman that I married is a professional editor.
Hell yeah. Like, I don't see anybody in this apartment right now. Except the mirror. Hey, it's Ninja. What's up? You know? Right on, though. Like, that's positive to have. And that's the thing. You need somebody in your corner, definitely. Whether it be a partner or a friend or just support in general, you know? I feel like that helps. Like, that keeps me motivated, you know? So everyone that came in tonight, like, I'm really appreciative of you guys. Like, even like the little things, whatever. Like, I'm just grateful to all of you out here for being able to speak like from a genuine sense instead of the nonsense I usually babble about. you know?
Well, YouTube gets by on the premise of, shtick, cranking yourself up to 11. And that's why I love these episodes, just because of the fact that, you can sit back and chill with a one-on-one. And I'm sure there's at least one or two people out there that are nodding their heads with the things that you're saying, that once again we're decreasing that loneliness gap, where you think that you're the only one who thinks that.
And it's true. I just noticed the number of your video, by the way, number 41.
Yeah.
It was a shame it's not the next one, because 42 is my favorite number in the entire world.
Yeah, I'm looking at my Douglas Adams book up on the bookshelf.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to Douglas Adams for a moment. Thank you. You see, I used to love to read too, man. There's so much, like, and furthermore, I'm gonna have you here soon, Doc. This is gonna be a return. I'm gonna have you over on the dojo, man. We're gonna have a one-on-one and kick it.
Well, that's the part when I get boring. I can interview. Sir Adamantine is encouraging us to crank our shtick.
And that's funny, because I was going to make a joke too. Props to Sir Adamantine, the only person in the world to call me sexy ninja, and it makes me blush, even though whatever.
There's a lot of good people that show up, and I'm so appreciative.
Oh man, I can't tell you, like, and y'all blame Pickle for me even showing up on here. Like, this is all Pickle's fault. I'll blame Sasha too, because she kept shit running when I took a hiatus. Like, so Sasha and Pickle, you guys are the main reasons I'm even here anymore on this shit. So thank you.
And I would say if Pickle does already have his hangout up and running, if he's got his YouTube, feel free and drop that link in there so people know where to go after we're done. And yeah, I tell you what, let's go ahead and get into that rap part. Is there anything that you would like to say to our wonderful captive audience? Any nuggets of wisdom or kernels of joy you would like to share?
A no pants life is a happy life. Now, like, the best I can ever say is be as real as you can. Don't be afraid to take chances. And this is advice I give myself daily that I still need to learn. So I just like to pass it on to everybody else. You have a dream, don't give up on it. You want to be a fucking Ninja Turtle, you be that shit. Don't matter how long it takes you or how you got to do it. If you want to be mashed potatoes, whatever, be mashed potatoes. Identify however you want to in this life, because you get one shot at it, and you shouldn't be confined to predetermined roles in life, so to speak. Like, there needs to be structure, sure, but you be what you want to be, and you be happy doing it. Just be happy, guys, and surrender your pants, obviously.
Oh, and if you're looking for any more words of wisdom, please feel free. Check it out down in the descriptor. Pants Ninja's got a Twitter, the YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. If you like what I'm laying down, I've got a Twitter, which is just to keep up with the IRS no context tweets. There's no illusions about that. I do also have a Streamlabs. I have a Patreon, which of course is my booze habit. So if you want to support alcoholism, then definitely become one of the enablers. I do also have, and I don't do this shtick normally, but for Outlaw that I know who's listening, if you're looking for the finest in bootleg medical merchandise, look no further than Doc Griffin's Tea Public Store. That's right, Doc Griffin's Tea Public Store, now featuring Insomnia Ramble Stream merchandise. So stop by and buy something, damn it. But even more importantly,
I agree.
When you get up and rolling and get your time, I definitely want to throw a link down there and add you to the prescription for additional entertainment, because there are a lot of good names down there.
I actually went through your list the other day, and I believe I subscribed to everybody. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I have to double check.
Except for that bastard Social Wreck, who stopped doing Cringe Factory. and I miss him so.
Yeah, I can't say anything on that. If I can mention quick, I am supposed to hop on with Trippy and Pickle here in a few minutes. Pickle Trippy, post a link down there, I guess. And Doc, I think you're welcome on if you want to come over.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and Pickle's in the prescription too. So if you guys are having trouble finding his channel, just pop over, take the 20 seconds and, hit the sub, hit the bell.
Yeah, do it because we're gonna get I'm gonna get off this serious note in a few. And I really I gotta say I'm so grateful for everybody listening. Like, thank you guys, man. Like, for real. Like, it's overwhelming at times, even to have 5 or 10 people, 20 people, doesn't matter. Somebody's listening, and I appreciate it. Like, somebody out there cares about you, world. Remember that. Like, real talk. And go say hi to your moms if you can. Damn it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And tell her I want my wallet back.
And I want I want her pants. Like, if your mom's single, give her my number, tell her what's up. I'm available,
So yeah, I would definitely. This has been a great conversation. I certainly appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. Like, it's a great honor for me, honestly. Thank you.
But I would like to thank everybody for coming out as well. Now, next week, we're going to be talking with, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but Good Bad Flicks. It's been running on YouTube for many years. And we'll be having Cecil on, the creator of Good Bad Flicks. So that's what's coming up for next week. But for tonight, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out, especially Pants Ninja for showing us a good time and leading us down that path just a little bit further. So from myself, Doc Griffin, thanks everybody for coming out, and the doctor's office is closed.